Pepsi Postgame Show. Pepsi, proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Now, here's Zach Wolchuk and Bryan Broaddus.
29 yards on the right hash. Here's the kick, and it's good as time expires. And the Dolphins have finally beaten a team with a winning record. They hadn't either. And they win the game 22-20.
Miami's playoff bound on Christmas Eve, and for the first time in 759 days, the Cowboys are now on a 2-game losing streak as Jason Sanders went 5 for 5, making field goals of 57, 52, 54, 35, and that game-winning 29-yard field goals. The Cowboys lose 22-20. They're now 3-5 away from AT&T Stadium. They're 10-5 on the season, and they got to go home and pray to Santa that the New York Giants are able to upset the Philadelphia Eagles if they want any hope of hosting a home playoff game and winning the division. A heartbreaker in Miami. Dak Prescott leads the Cowboys on a 17-play, 69-yard drive that ended in an 8-yard touchdown strike to Brandin Cooks in the corner. And the defense that, Brian, I think if we would have said, hey, you hold the Dolphins to 22 points, you say you win that game. But a Damone Clark penalty, which continues to be an issue for this team, terrible penalties at terrible times, is giving the Dolphins free yardage. And unfortunately, they weren't able to get the stop when they needed it most. And now Miami's 11-4 and 7-1 at home.
Yeah, unfortunately, though, it's tough because they really didn't have Mostert for the majority of that game. And then they also didn't have Waddle, for that. So they were finding a way. And then their backup offensive line, the linemen that were involved, they did a nice job. I think, to be honest with you, the Dolphins probably won this one on special teams today. And you talk about the made field goals, but their punter was outstanding too.
Sure was.
Because Dallas gets a stop, and then, all of a sudden they're pinned inside their, 2-yard line and don't go anywhere, gain 1 yard, and then have to punt the ball back to Miami there. But, yeah, in this type of game, the Dolphins did exactly what they needed to do with their lineup being compromised, some of their best players being compromised. I think Dallas playing on defense, I don't know if they could play any better with maybe some pressures. They had the one sack. You felt like that maybe there, but the way the ball was coming out, and they were just, you could tell they were so concerned with the speed of Hill, the way that they were, even when he had the ball in space and was running, you could see guys just freezing, worrying about his explosiveness there and all that. But yeah, this game came down to your inability to, the fumble was horrible after, driving 15 plays. And then you had the 3 punts that I mentioned as well that where those were just empty drives where you couldn't do anything as well. And then, you got down in their area and had to kick field goals instead of scoring touchdowns.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you had such a good opening drive to start that game. You had the fumble. And then after the first touchdown to CeeDee Lamb, it went punt, end of the half, punt. And then you were able to kick a couple of field goals, and then it ended with the game-leading touchdown there late. But the inability after CeeDee Lamb was darn near just uncoverable and giving Miami fits. And I understand, Jalen Ramsey and him got to match up a little bit more, but it wasn't constant. CeeDee certainly had Xavier Howard on him and Kahoo and, other Dolphins defenders. There was a couple of times maybe they bracketed him, but you can't go basically a quarter and a half without getting your best player in the offense.
No, I think you're absolutely right about that. I know Bobby Belt. Bobby, you with us today? You joined us on this broadcast, and you were mentioning it throughout the as we were watching the game all together. How can you go through this game and not target CeeDee Lamb enough?
Yeah, I don't understand the decision to move away from, because it was, especially when he had Kahoo on him, it was something where they were able to take such advantage of it early on. I mean, that second drive, it was just bang, bang right on top of those. You scored quickly. It looked like it was going to be a long day for their secondary. Yeah. And then you go essentially 2.5 quarters without targeting him again. Right. I mean, literally not even a target. It didn't look like it's not like he was just covered up the entire time. It looked like a lot of times he wasn't included early in the progressions. I don't know what they were looking at. That to me is the biggest failure of this game, is the fact that you didn't include CeeDee Lamb as a priority nearly as often as you should have in those middle 2 quarters.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're sitting here watching the game, and it is just stunning. I mean, the fact that they're not getting CeeDee Lamb the ball. You can see him on the sideline, frustrated. At one point, he goes and he talks with Mike McCarthy. He certainly led the team in targets with 10. Next closest with Jake Ferguson with 8. Nobody else had more than 2.
They had no answer for him, though.
But they didn't. It didn't matter who was on him.
They didn't even try. We'll watch all 22. It didn't even appear like that they said they didn't even put Ramsey over there on him.
No.
There were some times when they were in just natural, scheme coverage, but they're like, no, we're cool, we're fine.
We talked about it. We said before the game, like, get Lamb. The challenge today for them was going to be figure out ways to scheme up getting Lamb up against Kahoo, because it was something where it was like you would anticipate, all right, they're going to have to adjust to this because CeeDee Lamb's probably going to have his way with him. They didn't have to adjust to anything. This was a game where the Cowboys could just pick and choose who they wanted Lamb on. If they were going to put Lamb on the right side, he was going to get Howard. If they were going to put him on the left side, he was going to get Ramsey. If they wanted to put him in the slot, he was going to get Kahoo. They could have picked their matchup all day, and they didn't. And the times where they did get Lamb on Kahoo, it didn't look like he was a priority in the progression a lot of times. This is we'll go back and look at it, but this is a big failure to me on game planning in general. And then the other time there was, and this happened a lot, especially in the second quarter, I don't know why Dak was so slow to release. He was slow on the trigger a lot in the second quarter. I don't know if they were changing up coverages and just making him not trust what he saw, but there were several different times where it was like, this seems like an obvious moment to snap the ball. You've got Lamb in the slot, hit him on a quick slant, and they just refused to look his way again until the fourth quarter. And then what did they do? They looked his way in the fourth quarter, and they go down the field, and they score again.
Yeah. Any time that you had CeeDee Lamb motion into the slot and it's not Jalen Ramsey on him, which was every time because Ramsey never moved into the slot, it should have been, I am throwing the ball to CeeDee Lamb. It was bizarre. I mean, yes, you're sacked 4 times. Clearly your left tackle struggled with Chume Adoga in for Tyron Smith. But we've seen this team be able to draw plays where you're getting the ball out quickly.
Yeah. It seemed like to me Adoga's struggles were just mental errors of not blocking. I don't know if Adoga in that game overall, I'm sure there were a couple of times but offensive linemen, that's going to happen in a game. But, I mean, it seemed like to me the most egregious problems were when he was sliding down inside to his right.
Yeah, his biggest problem was recognizing who he was supposed to pick up. It was like, hey, that's your guy.
Communication.
Yeah, that was the big thing. There was one time Chubb worked him pretty good
with
on a
spin
move.
That
was overall not bad, other than just failing to recognize the guy. And the last one he had was a big one.
Yeah.
That was the one where he failed to recognize, and then you push Dak back to the 10-yard line on the 1st and goal where they were trying to pass it. Ultimately didn't burn you because you scored, but man, it was just a lot of communication problems and just a lack of recognition to take advantage of a sincere weakness, it felt like. That you had a huge advantage and you refused to take advantage of it. This feels like, to me, there needs to be another come to Jesus meeting like they've had in the past, like after the San Francisco game, where Lamb basically has to say, you guys need to get me the ball. When I have that big of an advantage, you need to make sure that I'm a priority.
Yeah, it's a little bit disturbing that it's not. You would think that, a play caller who has a Super Bowl and's been doing this as long as he has would kind of know to do that. But you're right. I mean, maybe that's what it's going to take is they need to do some soul searching, and you'll see next week when you play a team now that has won their division in Detroit and also will present problems if that can happen. Zach Wolchuk, Bryan Broaddus alongside now our Cowboys insider Bobby Belt, 22-20 here on this Christmas Eve. The Dolphins beating the Cowboys on a last-second field goal, 877-881-1053, 877-881-1053, the number to call, the number to text. The official postgame show of the Cowboys brought to you by Pepsi, made for Cowboys watching. Certainly we talked about the penalties, like 6 penalties today.
Yeah.
But man, it did feel like every single one of them resulted in a critical moment where you had the penalty with the illegal shift, brings back a run for a first down that sets you up inside the 15 for Dak.
Yeah.
You had the roughing the passer from Micah, which then gave the Dolphins an extended drive, which resulted in a Raheem Mostert touchdown. Yeah. And then you start off defensively, you're thinking, okay, can we get a stop to win the game? Damone Clark has that face mask penalty.
Turns into a 21-yard play. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, 6 penalties. I know, we've talked to Stephen Jones on the flagship 105.3 The Fan. He'll say, okay, if you have 5 overall, that's not too bad. But it's the timing in which they're getting these penalties, and a lot of them, which seems like it's just bonehead mental errors.
Oh, it is. And it's, we talk about discipline too, the ability to not, not to get those penalties when you absolutely don't need them. And the face mask, you're trying to hustle to the ball, but you got to play under control. You can't grab the guy's face mask, and But I'll say this though, and people have pointed this out to me. I do feel terrible for Micah Parsons and what he has to deal with on a daily basis, or on a game-by-game basis with these officials. Because there are several times, and people have pointed him out to me. I'm like, okay, it's the way it is right now. But man, it is so evident that a player of that magnitude doesn't draw the penalties that he draws. You figure those things, and then even Greg Olson pointed out the hold on Clark on the running play. That hey, you can't tackle a guy like that. But that's these crews. If you put your game future in these officials' hands, generally some bad things are probably going to happen to you.
Yeah, Michael Galkin of the Dallas Morning News, I think, had the note. It's been 37 quarters. 37 quarters. That's damn near 10 games without a holding penalty on one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. That just seems impossible. And look,
and not complaining. I mean, I'm just
but I mean, law of averages says there's going to be
that's what I'm
one.
saying.
Every game you're seeing the still shots.
When you get penalties on when your team get, you figure like, okay, the law of averages thing's going to even out. It really hasn't in that regard for Micah Parsons.
I mean, there's zero way that Micah Parsons has gone 10 games without being held as one of the best pass rushers in football. That's just objectively speaking. Now, look, the penalties,
the illegal shift penalty. I mean,
the illegal shift penalty was awful. You had the penalty when they were backed up in their own end in the second quarter, I think, and then that led to the bizarre quarterback sneak for a yard or whatever they did. And it's not all penalties. I mean, look, one area that I was not anticipating today we're going to be talking about that ended up being a big deal. You let Durham Smythe kill you for 5 really big catches in this game. Tyreek Hill, I know you mentioned it, Brian. They were so clearly threatened by his speed and everybody else's, but man, this is not going to quiet any of the discussion of why do you always lose on details in close games late? Why is it every time?
Yeah, and look, I mean, offensively, certainly when your head coach is the play caller, he's going to have to be held accountable. We got to wonder about the quarterback and what happened there during the lull in offensive production as well.
Play caller probably wasn't very good either, too.
No, I mean, I think some of that goes hand in hand. I mean, but look, defensively, I will say, and certainly the last drive, and a lot of people texting in, Dan Quinn, he deserves some blame. 5 field goals you held Miami to. Your offense has got to be better to win that football game.
Yeah, that's. I think that the one way they were going to win this game was their offense was going to have to do it. I think they played well against the run today. I know there were a couple of runs that popped through.
91 yards as a team for Miami.
You know what? I mean, I was expecting a lot worse. I'm not going to lie to you about that.
Well, I think it was. Yeah, I mean, the biggest issue is after the CD touchdown. I think they went. Their next 12 plays, they gained 9 yards. Yeah. That's where you lost. You lost on, and there was a lot of double clutching from Dak.
Yeah.
There was just, there was poor pass blocking at times. They were getting in the backfield quickly, but this is a shared loss. We gave so much credit to the offense for the last 8 weeks. This is a shared loss where a lot of it, I think, is shouldered on the offense. And okay, there was a little bit of bend but don't break from the defense. And ultimately, and ultimately that can stack up. Like, get off the field on a third down on some of these third downs. That would have been huge. They gave up some 3rd and 8s and things like that. That certainly hurt you, but that should be enough.
But you expected so much worse.
Yeah,
I mean,
you did.
That 22 points.
That should have been enough. Your offense had an opportunity to make plays. You neglected to get the ball to your best player. You didn't even look his way. That, to me, is the headline out of this. You refused to give CeeDee Lamb the ball for most of the game.
Yeah, because you come out of the half, right, and you're thinking, oh, no, because the Dolphins were able to get a touchdown right before the half. Your defense comes out, they go 3 and out.
Yeah. Your
offense then does nothing with the football. Then Miami, another drive, they kick a field goal. Cowboys respond, they kick a field goal. Miami kicks. There were moments where this thing could have gotten out of hand. Your defense kept you alive in the game.
If you tell me that in the middle 2 quarters, Andrew Van Ginkel is going to be targeted more than CeeDee Lamb, I'm going to say you're probably going to lose. And that's what happened.
Yeah, it is absolutely mind-blowing that they went away from throwing the football to their best player. It is very, very shocking, but you can't just crawl into a shell offensively.
And you wonder what the quarterback was seeing, though.
Sure.
I mean, we're all watching the TV copy.
Quarterback, play caller.
Yeah, you wonder what was going on there.
You better get over the psychological hurdle of playing on the road, though, because now you're going to have to do it in the playoffs. You've pretty much guaranteed yourself that fate.
It's got to be. I don't know that they're going to now. you're going to have a chance against Washington to maybe go and get a win against a bad football team in the last game of the season. I don't think that psychological hurdle is going to be overcome by the time they have to go to Philly or San Fran or whichever team they're going to have to play in the second round of the playoffs.
You better hope that's Philly, to be honest, because Philly, at least you can compete with them up there. That I don't think they're worried about.
Hell, Tampa Bay's looked pretty good the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, Tampa Bay run the Jaguars today.
If they ran the Jaguars and ran the Packers. So, I mean, hey, it's no guarantee going on the road and getting a victory against an NFC South
Not a guarantee.
Team.
I mean, with the way they're struggling on the road right now, no. But, I mean, it is. It's a team loss. I do put more of it on the offense, but the final drive, you needed your defense to make a stop, and they weren't able to. But you did ask them to do a lot throughout the entire game, and you keep playing with fire, eventually you're going to end up getting burnt, and they certainly did there. 22-20, so much more to discuss. Of course, we'll get Brad Sham. We'll hear from Mike McCarthy, get his reaction, Dak Prescott, and your calls and texts, 877-881-1053. You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
Cowboys football.
It's Miller time.
First and goal at the 4. Mostert back for the first time since he got hurt. Man in motion snap to Tua. Throws it out in the left flat. Tua, Mostert one-handed catch at the 1. Uncovered. And he steps in for the Miami touchdown.
That was the only touchdown the Dolphins had the entire game. But my goodness, the Miami Dolphins find a way to get it done. 22-20, 5 for 5. Jason Sanders getting your game ball today for Miami. 91 yards rushing. So the Cowboys' run defense did bounce back, but not good enough. Offensively, they went lull for about 2.5 quarters, and at the podium afterwards, Mike McCarthy talking to reporters.
David Moore, Dallas Morning News. Just your emotions and the ebb and flow of those final 5-6 minutes where you had that 17-play drive to take the lead, and just watching them push down the field.
Well, I mean, it's number one, it's a juggernaut game. It's what we expected. But yeah, it's situational football. The penalty, the face mask was a big call, obviously in the drive. But it's a challenge in these games because it's going to come down to one play. And they probably made a play or two more than we did. But it's a hard-fought game. I think gives you a good taster where we potentially may have to go on the road, obviously, to get this done. So I think we got a lot that we can draw from this. We're disappointed because we had plays that were there. We had some miscues. I had a horse backed up plan. We were backed up twice and he didn't move the field position. So we didn't help our defense there. We had one giveaway. So I mean it's those big mistakes that you can't make in these kind of games. But I think the resilience, the battle, the grit that you're looking for. I think we clearly have that. I think just the mode of the week, in the pregame, the halftime, the team had a good look, but we need to be better. I mean, we got to play better than we did today because you have to play above it on the road, and road warriors we will be.
And Mike Tyler for ESPN, what did they do after the first two drives that kind of stuck with you guys for about 4 or 5 days?
To be honest, the two backed up series, like I've already stated, were poor. We had some protection issues. They had linebacker run through too many times. So it's part of playing, and we had some change ups in the line and in the hots and so forth. We got to make those plays. The protection part, particularly in those pressures that we saw, that we had a couple that we did not, we weren't where we needed to be. So
when you look at the
the last drive, that when they're driving down, what's kind of the thought process? Is there any thought process of letting them score or trying to get the ball back to your offense? What is your
we talked about freeway would be the call there. Yeah, we discussed it, but I think you got to let the down and distance. It was too far out, if I recall, on the second and third down, we felt. But yeah, we discussed it as an option.
I'm sure the Athletic, Mike, it felt like the defense kept giving you guys a shot, keeping you guys in the game offensively. Did you kind of feel that way? How did you think?
Frankly, this is how I view our team. Because these are the games that I personally really enjoy, because I know you need to think you're ever going to win a championship. You need these games, especially on the road. To go win games on the road is great road wins are things that we all remember, throughout the years, and that's why, the urgency to come in here, we put a lot into the game, but it's definitely something we can grow from. But yeah, to me, to keep us in the game, I mean, to me, it's the definition of complementary football. I thought we battled back and forth. The defense stood up, and we came back, and in the field position. I haven't seen the stats, but I assume we lost the field position battle. So the one giveaway was costly. I think that was a 17-play drive. So and like I said, those are probably 2 plays. Those are the difference in these playoff type games.
But you knew going into this game that it wasn't going to be like a carryover from Buffalo with missed tackles and things like that.
Oh no, I didn't think so. No, Buffalo. I mean, hey, I've answered the questions about Buffalo. We were coached poor. We played poor. It was a good wake up call, but we could play better than we did today. And to me, that's exciting.
Like the pressure that they were giving you guys, offensively, what was kind of hard to make these not go? Let us know who you are and what your platform is.
Yeah, I just answered it. The protection part. We had some mishaps. I don't know if you were in here, but it just went through it. I think we missed 3 or 4 of them, frankly, today. So we need to be better there.
Mike McCarthy there, brought to you by WinStar, the casino of the Dallas Cowboys. WinStar knows what it means to be a star with over 10,000 of your favorite electronic games. The all-new 2-story WinStar Spawn Cascades, our luxury pool complex. WinStar really is the place to feel like a star. Please game responsibly. Zach Wolchuk alongside the Super Bowl winning scout Bryan Broaddus after a very disappointing 22-20 Dolphins win over the Cowboys here on Christmas Eve. Your thoughts on what Coach said?
Yeah, I like the fact that Mike, stepped up and said they had a poor plan when it came to the backed up, situation that they were in. They obviously didn't handle the blitz very well. He said they didn't handle the hots very well. That's communication, down there. That's recognition. You wonder about practice at times. I mean, that shouldn't have been a situation. Adoga, if that's the case, if they're worried about pickups and, that's on Adoga and, those guys, he does get to practice. This isn't a situation where he got thrown into the game. I'm not only blaming him, but if they're having, it looked like to me that the communication problems they were having at tackle were a problem. They also let a blitzer go through the inside. That could have been a situation with Broaddus and then also with Tyler Smith there. So, you got to be able to recognize these things. You got to communicate. And if you don't, then teams will take advantage of you that way. And the Dolphins clearly did. They had a good plan when you got backed up, and Mike felt like his crew wasn't ready for that situation.
Let's go ahead and pause 10 seconds to all stations to identify themselves across the Dallas Cowboys radio network.
Your turn it on, leave it on. Home of America's team is 105.3 The Fan. Cholo, baby. KRLD FM and HD1, Dallas Fort Worth.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
877-881-1053, the number to call and text. And we got a lot of keyboard warriors on here texting in. Would love for you to call in and share your thoughts. I know everybody's upset and emotional after a loss. It's
Merry
never fun to
Christmas
lose.
by the way.
But we're going to be critical after a Cowboys loss. I mean, you've now lost 2 in a row, and this was a game that you could have won, and it is complimentary football at its finest, right? Because your defense kept you in the game. Your offense then finally has probably their best drive of the game since what was the opening drive. But unfortunately, you fumbled at the one, and who knows how this thing could have played out if they had to punch that one in. But you can't go through the lull in which the offense just did not perform.
Yeah.
And then, okay, now you got to rely on your defense to get the stop, and unfortunately, they weren't able to do so. So, hey, you still got 2 more games left in the season, but if you think this is good enough, I apologize, and it's not.
If you'd have told me that you were going to hold the Dolphins to 22 points,
we would take it.
I would have probably said they were going to win that football game. I would have probably said Dallas would have found a way, to score 24-26 and would have won this football game. But yeah, there were things defensively that they didn't do well enough, but it seemed like to me where they struggled in these types of games is on the road offensively. We've talked about this. The best defense that they could have is their offense.
Sure.
When their offense finds ways to score points, puts up, and puts opponents in a tough situation, they find ways to win games. And their offense the last couple of weeks just haven't done that well enough.
Let's allow you the chance to vent and share your thoughts and emotions. Let's go to our guy, Big Jim in Round Rock. Big Jim, what's going on, man? Merry Christmas.
Well, Wolchuk Bryan Broaddus, I guess Bobby's still in there.
No, Bobby's gone. He's gone.
Oh, he's gone. I guess he's got those kids to deal with.
He does.
Fellas, it just seems like when we go on the road and we go from the team hotel to the stadium, it's like we're taking the short bus. I don't understand it. It seems like there's just mental errors. There's just things that they just don't do well that you don't see at home. And guys, I can't disagree with anything you've said tonight. The play caller didn't do good.
Mm-hmm.
Golly, we talked about him last week, Broaddus. Damone Clark.
Yeah.
I mean, I know he got tackled there on that play, but
sure
man, you just got to keep your head in the game and not make a penalty, grabbing a guy's face mask and there were several things out there that just were a little bit disturbing, and I agree with you, fellas. If we have to go take on Tampa Bay, that is not a surefire win by any stretch of the imagination. But listen, hey, it's Christmas Eve. I want to tell you I love you boys. I really appreciate everything you do to bring so much joy to Cowboy fans out there. You help bring us down. So you boys have a good one tomorrow, and I'm sure we'll talk a little bit later, and I'll be listening all night. Have a good one.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Big Jim. I appreciate you. Yeah, I mean, Damone Clark's penalty, the face mask there.
Tough.
You can't
He's trying to get there, and
I know.
You can't. I mean, it's one of those things where, when it happens, it's a huge play, and especially with a team that you've seen their field goal kicker knock field goals in from 57 and 50, whatever, 54. You just knew if they got near or past that logo that they were going to be in field goal range. And, it also, too, you gave up a run there, an 8-yard run, when you're trying to, if you just get a stop, instead you have to, burn a timeout. But the first down, you give up an 8-yard run. So, yeah, it was, it's just unfortunate. But the defense, like I said, you said Dolphins are only getting 22 today. I'm kind of feeling like you're going to win that football game.
Let's go to Charlie in New Mexico. Charlie, what's going on? Merry Christmas.
Hey, Merry Christmas, fellas. Hey, you can't argue anymore. You know what? You can't argue with these fans or these other people that this team is about winning on the road until they prove they can do it. You can't argue with them anymore. And here's the bottom line: this team finds a way to lose different every time on the road against good football teams, with the exception of the 49ers, who just dominated every phase of the game. It's either we can't stop the run, or we can't stop the pass, or our defense fails, or our offense fails. And the bottom line and the kicker of all of these games is undisciplined football. This team with the penalties just drives me up a wall. Every time we have a big play, I'm sitting there with my fingers crossed, hoping the yellow flag is not on the ground. And the Miami PD, they need to go arrest Vic Fangio tonight for abusing Mike McCarthy.
Yeah, I think, Charlie, too, I think something, I mean, the attention to detail, I think you said it earlier, Zach. I mean, there's the attention to detail to finish some of these games, especially on the road.
Yeah.
The Philadelphia game was an example. This game this week was you got beat up by Buffalo. You got beat up by the 49ers. Like the Arizona game, I mean, that was kind of maybe got beat up a little bit there too. But just the attention to detail the last couple of weeks when you've needed these road victories and you just haven't been able to come up with them, I think has been a big problem as well.
No, it's an interesting point because Philly, your offense, it's just a complete dumpster fire from the sideline and then onto the field about trying to get that ball in the end zone when you had a chance to win it. And then this week, you're able to come away with the game-winning touchdown. And I get it. I've seen so many still shots now out there on social media of the holding call on CeeDee Lamb that wasn't called. That's fine. They didn't call it, but they ended up getting you back and had a makeup call with the double penalty with Gallup in the corner and then underneath as well.
Yeah.
So ultimately, they ended up extending the drive with a call there. All right, I don't think that's one we can really complain about. They got you back a couple afterwards. Your offense scores. Then you were trying to rely on the defense. And unfortunately, they weren't able to keep Miami out of field goal range.
No, not at all.
Let's go to Gary in New Mexico. Gary, what's going on? You're on with Zach Wolchuk and Bryan Broaddus.
Hey guys, Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Just let's take a step back, take a deep breath, like Aaron Rodgers likes to say. They really missed Tyron Smith tonight.
They did.
And I know everybody wants to bash McCarthy, and I understand that. But that opening drive, they were rolling. They were doing good. McCarthy didn't fumble the ball at the goal line. Hunter Lipke did. Sometimes you just got to look.
They gave the fumble to the quarterback is what they did. They gave it to the quarterback on that one. The stats did.
Yeah, and I didn't see that. I wasn't home yet, so I didn't.
Yeah, no, I'm not trying to bash the quarterback. I'm just saying the official NFL stats gave it to the quarterback. So
because it looked on the replay like the handoff was a little high.
Well,
they just kind of missed the hand. But the bottom line, that's not a play call issue. That's an execution issue.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think the bottom line, guys, this was a good this is a good old fashioned football game. Broaddus, you made a great point. Field position mattered in this game.
Huge.
And you can blame the offense, you can blame the defense, you can blame. The bottom line is we lost a tough game to a good team on the road. Learn from it. We needed Philadelphia to lose one of these next three anyway if we had any hope at the division. And if they lose one of their next three and we win our last two, we would still win the division.
Yeah, Gary, I want to ask you, can I ask you a question real quick, though, about the play calling? To me, okay, and again, it's all a part of it. But as a fan, what were you thinking when the ball wasn't going to Lamb? What were you thinking as a fan watching that and Lamb is just lighting them up? And then all of a sudden the ball doesn't go his direction. What were you thinking there?
Does the other team have anything to do with that? Because they pay their guys too, and Fangio's a good DC.
Sure, I agree.
So they can make adjustments. I mean, and I used to be that way, but it's like Coach Landry used to say, those other guys are good too.
No, I understand. But they didn't have an answer for him. They really didn't have an answer. Yeah.
They didn't. But again, the other team has something to do with that. And like I say, right now, we have any confidence we can go on the road and win in the playoffs? No, but it's not right now. And you haven't done it until you've done it.
Right.
We still got 2 weeks to correct things.
Thank you, man. Appreciate the call.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you for the call, Gary. No, I mean, obviously, you got to let things play out. A lot of people have made the comparison to the Rangers, who did go on and win a World Series, and they were dead and buried after they lost the division. You never know. But, yeah, I mean, we're not going to kid ourselves right now at the way that this team is having their road issues.
Yeah, they just don't.
Right now it's an issue.
Yeah.
And until they go and do it, and it's not to say they can't, but they have to go and do it until you are actually going to feel positive about it happening. All right, we'll hear from Brad Sham. More of your calls and texts, 877-881-1053, as we do some Cowboys therapy after a very heartbreaking 22-20 loss in Miami. Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.
RJ Shop, your Fire President, hey, number one air, proud part of the
stunt, and he airs it out deep down the right side. Waddle over Gilmore. He caught it and got out of bounds. Oh, what a throw.
Yeah, another one there on Gilly. Stephon Gilmore did get a little banged up. I saw Dak checking on him on the way to the locker room after the game. I'm sure we'll get more information on that. Gilmore did come back in, but a couple of big throws from Tua, a couple ones that he did miss on some open receivers as well. 877-881-1053. Cowboys losing to Miami 22-20. Zach Wolchuk alongside the Super Bowl winning scout Bryan Broaddus.
Yeah, Next Gen Stats is starting to throw out all their matchup stuff from the game. Linebacker Andrew Van Ginkel, right? He was going up against Terrence Steele.
Mm-hmm.
Generated 8 pressures and 1.5 sacks on 26 pass rushes. That's 30.8 pressure rate, his second highest pressure rate in a game in his career. Wow. And this is the highest pressure rate Steele has allowed in a single game this season.
Worse than the Philadelphia Hassan Reddick game.
Yeah.
Wow, that's stunning. But Van Ginkel was everywhere. I mean,
There
were a couple of plays he knocked down a couple of passes that Dak tried to throw as well. I mean, I know Bobby made the joke that there shouldn't be a period where Van Ginkel is targeted more than CeeDee Lamb, but it did appear that way in the middle of that football game. Let's go and hear from your quarterback, Dak Prescott, and then we'll break more into the Next Gen Stats and get back to your calls and text 877-881-1053. Here's Dak after the loss.
Can you just talk about, how frustrating it was to finally get back in the game and lose that night?
Yeah, you just nailed it. Frustrating. Frustrating that the dead spot, I guess you can say, right there in the middle of the game for the offense. I mean, right after the first 2 drives, don't get anything going again, and then come back second half. Once again, a little dry there, and then finally get it back rolling, get some points on the board, a couple of field goals and a touchdown, take the lead, and tough. But our defense did a hell of a job. This is completely on everybody, one that sucks, but definitely took a step, I guess you can say, from obviously last week's game, getting some points, playing a hell of a team here on the road, and we'll have to build off it. We'll have to use the good, make sure we get better from the things that weren't up to standard, but use the good and plan to go on the road.
Still feeds that narrative of you guys not being able to win on
I mean, I guess it feeds it, right? We didn't come out with the win, but I can tell you the confidence is high from that group. Obviously, this one sucks. It hurts, especially as you just said, in the manner that we did. That we lost this one, but the confidence is high in these guys. We understand that we can. Obviously, we haven't done it, but we will. And obviously, the road forward looks like we'll be going on the road. So, got one more in this regular season to dial it in and improve from this one, and get a win, and then carry that to the next part of the season.
Dak Tyler for the issue. Where does that confidence come from that you still have to believe, even if you guys haven't been able to win?
I mean, hell, we're this whole narrative changes off of, unfortunately, one play out there. I mean, the guy misses a field goal. We're in here talking about a completely different outlook. So let's not lose sight of that. I mean, that's the game of football. And a lot of times, we flip the script off of one play in that sense. And these guys, we're not going to do that. It sucks. We hate to lose. Nobody's taking any moral victories from this. We will take some confidence, but we're not taking any more moral victories. But my point is, if he misses that field goal or one earlier, we score earlier. You know what I mean? Like, and it's a different game. So we're going to be committed. I think to answer your question is this brotherhood, what we're committed to. We're committed to one another, holding each other accountable in our goal. And we just got to capitalize early, obviously on that first drive, and then defense will probably say that they need to get that stop, but they did a hell of a job. We got to find a way to put in more points as an offense, and we will.
Saad used to be athletic. You mentioned that first drive, just, you guys won the toss, receive, go all the way down. How demoralizing is it when you can't come up with even 3 points, let alone 7?
It sucks, but demoralizing isn't quite the word. You got to move on fast, especially that being the first drive of the game. Understand it's a long game ahead. If that did demoralize us, we wouldn't have came back and responded like the way that we did in that second drive. So being able to do that was huge. Being able to come back next drive, go down there and put 7 in the end zone was a big part in the way for us to put that last drive past us. But yeah, when you look back at it, right, at this point, yeah, I'd love to get any kind of points there. I mean, it changes the way that last drive is played. And so, yeah, it sucks.
How much was Tyron Smith missed today?
I've got to watch film. I mean, those guys fought their asses off. Obviously, I had to extend some plays, move around in the pocket a little bit, but those are some great ends that they were playing. I mean, especially Chubb over there. So, I mean, got to go back and look at the film. But Tyron, Hall of Famer. He's going to be tough to replace, and when he's in there, it's always different with Tyron.
You already touched a little bit on the defense, but I just wanted to know what your thoughts were coming into the game about how the defense would respond to the way that they played in Buffalo, and then just what you thought of them in general. It seemed like they were able to keep you guys in the game throughout until the last series.
Yeah, they kept us in the game. I mean, simple as that. As I said, right, the draw spots early or after the first two drives to not get anything going again till the end of the third quarter. Yeah, they gave us the opportunity even to take the lead late with slowing an explosive offense down, playmakers. I mean, they got some field goals, but you turn those field goal possessions or allow them to have touchdowns on the field goal possessions, and we don't even have a chance to come back right there. So, I mean, they definitely gave us an opportunity. They've got the right leaders on that side of the ball. I mean, you see the way that Demarcus plays. That's who he is on and off the field. Guys got to continue to follow him, just doing things right. Hell of a player. Saw it all over the field tonight. And, yeah, they've got a hell of a leader in DQ. So no worries about that group. They responded well, and they gave us an opportunity.
Yeah, I certainly felt like Demarcus Lawrence was brilliant again. Donovan Wilson, Jordan Lewis, both having, Donovan Wilson very physical. Jordan Lewis thought maybe had his best game of the season today. Dak Prescott brought to you by the National Medal of Honor Museum. Join the mission at mohmuseum.org and AT&T, the official 5G innovation partner of the Dallas Cowboys. More of your calls and texts here in just a moment, but let's bring on the voice of your Dallas Cowboys from Miami, Brad Sham, here on the official postgame show with Zach Wolchuk and the Super Bowl winning scout Bryan Broaddus. Brad, what are your initial thoughts after a disappointing road loss to Miami?
Well, my initial thought, Zach, is that the way they played offense for 2 quarters in a series is unacceptable and not winning football. And how do you not even target CeeDee Lamb?
Yeah.
I mean, I understand they're doubling him.
Right.
I get it. Scheme him open, okay?
Mm-hmm.
He's your best player. Figure something out. And they did later in the game. I just think that Mike McCarthy won't want to hear it, but Vic Fangio is in his head. And I thought that the touchdown drive late, actually the 2 field goal drives were good. The touchdown drive showed amazing resilience. It was a game, I said this several times, if I've ever seen a quarterback play above his statistics, it was Dak Prescott today. The way he was getting harassed and still finding people and getting throws off and running out of trouble, and sometimes it was an incompletion. But he didn't turn the ball over. I don't know who that first fumble was on, but
they gave it to him, is what they did.
Yeah, I know they gave it to him, but I don't know enough about the mechanics to know. Why doesn't Lipke just clamp down on that ball?
No, I totally get what you're saying, Brad. I'm just trying to tell you who the NFL said.
I know. I knew that. Yeah, I knew they gave it to him. But as far as I'm concerned, he didn't turn the ball over. He played so much above his statistics, especially in the fourth quarter. But whatever the reason was in the second and third, that's what cost them the game. Because even with the fumble at the beginning, you really are going to get points from that if you don't lose the ball. But even with that, you just can't go dead for two quarters in a series against that team particularly. And people will talk about the defense giving up the drive. But if you go into the game and you say, we're going to hold Miami to 22 points,
Amen.
you're going to take that and run with it all day long.
Yeah.
And that defense, I heard only just a little bit of Dak's comments there, but I think I'm in agreement with his sentiment. You get them off the field on 4th and goal, you hold them to 4 or 5 field goals, give that team 1 touchdown. I mean, that is playing your butt off. And the offense, for most of the game, when it could have, did not hold up their end of the bargain. I don't feel like it has anything to do with the road. Strangely enough, I just don't think that had anything to do with it. Would it have been different at home? I don't know, but it just didn't feel like the road cost them the game. I just felt like Miami's defense cost them the game in the that gutted out middle part of it.
Brad, I felt like last week, and that one of the reasons people were asking me about road, and I was thinking communication. I would think, and then, Marshall Faulk was on with Rich Eisen, and he started kind of offering about communication. I think we saw a couple of times there with Adoga. I don't know what the call was, or was there a miscommunication? Was there a miscall? Are they struggling? And I know crowd noise and all that's a factor, but to me, it seems like they just don't play a cleanest game offensively, and they have more of those types of issues than they do at home.
Well, that's a fair point. And whether that's because they're on the road, I don't know. It didn't feel as loud as Buffalo felt last week. And, they had the one, it was a big play that sacked by Chubb when he was untouched.
Yeah.
And Babe thought that was a Ferguson communication issue. I don't know that you're wrong, Brian, to say that the communication was a fair thing to point out last week, and they didn't seem ready to handle it. I didn't feel today like they were not prepared to handle the communication part of it. I just think that they physically weren't up to whatever they had to do to fight off the Miami defense there for that middle part of the game. Yeah, I'm sure communication had something to do with it.
Yeah, I think last week was more about the physicality. With what you look at with Buffalo running the football, but to me, it just appeared that they had a better plan of attack early in that game offensively, and then when things got a little close or tight, then things started to kind of fall apart. The attention to detail stuff, I like to also say.
So that is, I think, an accurate description. And then my question would be, did Fangio change some things after that second possession?
Oh, there's no question. Yeah.
We know the Cowboys tried to play man, and we saw what happened. And then they played zone the rest of the game because they knew they couldn't cover those two outside receivers. Okay.
Right.
So to me, it's about what Fangio was able to do to change from whatever he did in the first two possessions to the next 2 quarters plus. And it took them that long to finally get a little rhythm and get something going. And I think that is more of a coaching scheme thing than it is having to do with the road. But there's no way to know, what it would be like. I mean, Miami's road record is not that much better than the Cowboys.
No, they're 4-3, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brad, one other thing I did want to ask you about was your take on the penalties. Last week it was 5, this week it was 6, but it just seems as though when they're getting penalized, it is a critical juncture in the game. You had the illegal shift that brought away a first down for Dak there. Late in the game, certainly you had the face mask on Damone Clark to aid that final drive for Miami. The penalties are something that seems like it's constantly a talking point.
Yeah, there's no doubt they're leading the league, and now that the illegal shift was really odd because, like, Lamb had lined up offside a la Kadarius Toney, but he looked at the official, and the official said, yeah, you need to move back. And so he was moving back just at the time that Ferguson went in motion. There's 2 men moving at the same time. Well, that's a really fluky play, and do you need to call it? I don't know. Probably a correct call. I don't know if that means it's a right call. The Clark penalty, I understand, heat of battle, that kind of thing. Just keep away from his face mask.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just got to stop. Parsons getting the foul late for, he's completely out of his mind over frustration over being held. I get it.
Yeah.
And so Christie was saying that during the game, that he's just completely frustrated. And I said, yes, I understand he's frustrated. And every time I go to a Maverick game, I see Luka Doncic frustrated, and he's getting technical fouls. Yeah. You know what? and in this case, I think that this crew called the game according to the form chart. Not too much in the secondary, a lot on the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
So keep a clean line of scrimmage. And, this is 2 years out of 3 that they have led the league in penalties. And that is not a way. I know there have been championship teams that led the league in penalties, but not many. And to me, it's not winning football, and it's hurting them.
Brad, any final thoughts before we let you out of here, sir?
Yeah. This was a hard-fought game against a good team, and the Cowboys are a good team. And they can be disappointed, and I know they are. They can even be angry, but they don't have anything to hang their head about. This was a good team. And this does nothing. Last week, whole different deal.
Mm-hmm.
This week does nothing to make me say why should I even bother to watch the playoff game. I mean, they've still got time to clean some things up. They will learn from every one of these games, and they are a good team. The Dolphins are a good team, and the Cowboys are a good team. Are they good enough? Maybe not. We'll find out. But I think that it would be wrong to get too down or heap too much anger on this team. That was a heck of a comeback now, and they came up a little bit short because you got to play a 60-minute game. But I would if I were a fan, which I am, I would be disappointed at the result. But I would feel proud about that team representing me. Last week, not so much. This week, I would say, you know what? Play hard, play clean, maybe play a little smarter. But just keep playing hard like that, and I can get behind that.
Brad, appreciate you, sir. Fly home safe, and we'll catch up with you next week.
Okay. Merry Christmas, Brian.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
There he goes. Brad Sham, the voice of your Dallas Cowboys, here in the official postgame show of the Cowboys, 22-20. Dolphins find a way to get the win. They're 11-4 now on the year. 7-1 they finished with their home record. The Cowboys 10-5. They're now 3-5 away from Arlington. Phone lines are full, 877-881-1053. We will hear from you, allow you to vent on this Christmas Eve as the official postgame show rolls on. You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
Attention, attention. I'm calling on the trendsetters and the underdogs, the disruptors and the slept on, the ones who have been told they're too much. Welcome to NFL Flag. In this game, there's a position for everyone. No matter who you are, just bring it. Get ready to run, throw, jump, and fly. This game is our game. Let's play. Visit NFLflag.com to find a league and get playing today.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
You know that sound anywhere. It's the crisp crunch of that first nacho chip. With its perfect cheese to sour cream ratio sitting atop a layer of delicious beans, it's a sip away from perfection. That's what we're looking for. Add a delicious, refreshing Pepsi and we've achieved absolute nacho nirvana. Because while you can pile those nachos high with every spicy, cheesy, savory topping, there's no topping a cool Pepsi finish. Nachos, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
Fly to Philly, take off to Tampa, depart for Denver. Following your team on the road is more rewarding with the American Airlines Advantage program. Your flights and everyday spend not only earn you miles toward your next trip, but also loyalty points toward Advantage status. All the more reason to purchase both a home and away jersey. With status comes great benefits like priority boarding, free checked bags, and complimentary upgrades. Not a member? Enroll for free today at AA.com. American Airlines, you are why we fly. Terms and conditions apply.
Apply now to the University of North Texas Dallas Cowboys online MBA in Sport Entertainment Management. This unparalleled graduate degree combines UNT's high-caliber Tier 1 academics with a world-class business expertise of the Dallas Cowboys. Designed for the working professional with immersive in-person boot camps and online courses, the program can be completed in 12 to 24 months. UNT, a proud...
To leave a legacy. You see, my job is to be the security blanket for my family.
Nearing midfield, snap to Prescott, little fake inside, steps, runs up out of the pocket. This is a scramble for a first down to the 40 and down to the 30-yard line of Miami. That was not what Babe was talking about, one of those RPOs where he keeps it. That was, I don't like anything down there, but I do like this a little bit.
Yeah, certainly. Look, Dak using his legs a little bit today. Had that big 22-yard run, which was really nice. 5 carries, 25 yards. Under duress, certainly had to run around a little bit. Had that one throw. I don't know how the hell he got it off, where he's got a linebacker draped all over him and then was able to throw it for a completion. But the pressure was constant today as he was sacked 4 total times. Postgame show rolling on after a 22-20 Dolphins win over your Cowboys. Zach Wolchuk alongside the Super Bowl winning scout Bryan Broaddus.
Yeah, Next Gen Stats threw this one out there today for Prescott. He had attempted a tight window on 31% of his passes. It's his highest rate in a game since week 11 of 2018. But he finished with 6 of 10 for 79 yards and a touchdown tight window passes. It's his most tight window completions in a game since week 13 of 2021. So they were making it difficult for him to throw the football, but 6 of 10 is a pretty good clip.
Yeah, it is, including what could have been the game-winning touchdown there to Brandin Cooks. So,
that was, absolutely,
that was an outstanding play. It was the last play Dak had in the game.
Yeah, well, Cooks caught 2 of his tight window throws, and you mentioned one of them was being the touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, it's still just shocking to me, and I know I've seen some Dolphin reporters saying, hey, give credit to Vic Fangio. Maybe he does deserve some credit, but to me, I think it was more so on Mike McCarthy and the Cowboys offense and their inability, where CeeDee Lamb has 5 catches, 102 yards, and a touchdown in the first quarter. And then in the 6 drives afterwards, quarters 2 through 4, 1 catch, 12 yards. I mean, I just don't get going away from your best player who is torching the Dolphins.
Yeah, the Dolphins clearly didn't have an answer for him early, and the thing that I worry about was, did the Cowboys take, by the way they schemed, did they take Lamb out of the game for Vic Fangio?
Yeah.
And that would be my worry. And
that's kind of how I feel. Now, look, we might go back and watch the tape and say, okay, we do need to give Vic Fangio credit.
Yeah, they were.
And that's what was kind of maybe the double clutches from Dak, holding onto the football a little bit, didn't want to put the ball in harm's way. But, man, right now the initial feeling is CeeDee Lamb just wasn't part of the offense there for 2 quarters.
For about 2 quarters he wasn't. And then all of a sudden, I can't believe that the Dolphins played that well against him for 2 quarters and then allowed him just to go off the way they did, in the 4th. But, you got to do the autopsy on this one, because that is one of the great mysteries when a guy is just dominating, and then in the second half, is just a non-factor.
Get back to the phones, 877-881-1053, brought to you by AT&T, the official 5G innovation partner of the Dallas Cowboys, and Blockchain. Trust the team at blockchain.com to make buying, selling, and trading crypto easy. Play smarter, not harder, with blockchain.com. Let's go to Carter in College Station. Carter, how you doing, sir? Merry Christmas.
Hey, Krusty. Hey, Broaddus. I really appreciate Hey, Krusty. Hey, Willie Bully. Really appreciate y'all having me on.
Merry Christmas, man.
Love the show. Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
I got for y'all what I think went wrong with the offense, and then I had a question for, I think it's going to be both of y'all on defense. So, I just see I'm a guy who likes to get the ball around, so I'm not going to complain about the Lipke fumble, but, CeeDee Lamb, Brandin Cooks, Ferguson, these are guys that when you get them the ball, it doesn't matter if MJ thinks he has an answer for him. They're making plays. So I think the issue we're seeing here is if Tyron Smith plays this game, I think we see a different answer. With Udoga, I feel like I could go down to the local Chuck E. Cheese, get in the pizza line, find a big boy who played better than that guy. But, I don't know what y'all think. On defense, I think we're at Parsons now. He's gone 38 quarters without a holding call.
Mm-hmm.
Those hybrid DQ guys, Damone Clark got the attention tonight with that last hold. But, with all the film y'all watch, do you see this issue with other defenses, or is this just us? Thanks, guys.
No, I appreciate the call. Look, I think that there are other defenses that are far worse than the Cowboys when you watch them play.
For holding calls and stuff?
So I know Myles Garrett in Cleveland, right?
Yeah.
They have been writing articles complaining about some of the same stuff. Now, I don't know if he's on a streak of 36 to 38 straight quarters like Micah is right now. But it is something that is, and I know the Cowboys send stuff to the NFL officiating office after every game. I mean, they've had to have been sending, hey, why is this not getting called? Why is that not getting called? It is bizarre how one of, if not the best pass rushers in the game is not getting a single holding call now for the amount of time that it's been since his last one.
Yeah, I think there's something to, and man, I've got this ability, and I was just thinking about it. Maybe we'll come back to it, but I've got an ability, I think, to pull up what players get penalties or who's drawn the most penalties.
That'd be incredible.
Because I feel like, though, that a lot of these edge rushers, the Watts, the Garretts, the Parsons, it just seems like because we see the Cowboys every week.
We're focusing on it more.
We're focusing, but he does. He gets held. It's just incredible how much that he hands the face, held. He does not get the benefit of being as great as a pass rusher as he is.
Yeah, it's frustrating. And every one of Micah's 8 pressures against the Dolphins came in under 2.5 seconds.
Yeah.
1.95 second average was time to pressure. Rest of the Cowboys pass rush combined for 5 total pressures. He had 8 by himself. So he was an impact player today, no question about it. He got credited with, I believe, a half a sack. But it's mind-blowing sometimes how obvious and blatant the hold seems to be, and he is not getting the benefit of any of those calls. All right, let's go to Richard in Tampa. Richard, Merry Christmas, sir. What are your thoughts after this upsetting loss?
Hey, guys. Merry Christmas. First, I just want to thank you guys for taking the call.
Thank you.
And I have been a listener since 2016, and you guys, with your content, has completely removed me from the talking heads on TV, so I thank you for that.
Thank you.
My question is I know the game didn't go as we planned, and how does this team prepare itself to go on the road? And also, Pollard seems to be getting a little bit better. The situations today with being behind a little bit didn't help. But should we expect no real running game going forward into the playoffs?
I appreciate the call, Richard. Look, I was very hopeful that, Tony Pollard was building up to a big game. He had 12 carries, 38 yards, 3.2. His long was of 7. I was wrong about that today. He did not run. Look, I didn't even think there was as much running room as was created early on in the Buffalo game last week. So it's tough to run when there's not running lanes to run through. But, yeah, I think at times it's a combination of the runner and a combination of your offensive line being able to create some running room.
I think, Van Ginkel and Wilkins and Chubb and then Sider. Seigler. Seigler. I think
that dude, he's underrated.
I think those 4 guys, when we sit down and watch, I think those 4 guys played really, really well for them today. When you start to say, okay, when you look at pass rush, and then when you also, because they really lean heavy on their 4-man line, and I've kind of feel like that those guys probably played pretty well against your 5 in this game. I think they probably controlled the line pretty well. Didn't seem like you mentioned there were a lot of lanes or opportunities. It seemed like everything was really contested.
Yeah.
Didn't see the ball get to the perimeter like we've had in the past.
That was I was wondering because they definitely tried to run between the tackles a
lot more.
And it seemed like early, okay, if there was a little bit of a hole, maybe it was towards the outside.
Right.
Dowdle, I think, had one run where it was to the outside, and that was his 4-yard carry, which, I mean, look, 4 yards, that's nothing great, but that seemed like there was enough room there for him to at least get something positive. I think that was for a first round, but for a first down, but a lot of it was between the tackles inside, which is through the heart of the Dolphins defense, and it's pretty strong.
Right. Yeah, I think it was a difficult day, and I have a feeling we sit down and watch this that we're going to see that the Miami Dolphins front four did a pretty solid job.
I think so too. And your offensive line wasn't able to get any type of push.
And they weren't. Yeah.
Let's go to James in Fredericksburg, Virginia. James, Merry Christmas. What's going on?
Merry Christmas, gentlemen. I hope you guys are having a good night.
Thank you.
My question is, when is this curse for the Cowboys going to end? It seems like I disagree with Brad in regards to, we need to hold our head up. They played hard. They lost a close game. It seems like this happens every single year when they make the playoffs. They go into it. They get our hopes up. And then these penalties, these mental errors, every single time they're in the playoffs, it's just frustrating as a fan to kind of get up for it and say, maybe this might be the year. We will get over that hump. And we're continuing to make the same mistakes we make every year when we make the playoffs. If you can answer that for me, please give me hope, gentlemen, please.
Yeah, it might be your head coach, though, too, because your head coach and your coaches, I think that, we talk about attention to detail. And when you get playoff football is a lot about the execution. It's a lot about having great players, though, too, but it's the little things. I think with the Cowboys, as good as Mike McCarthy does with the health of your team and some of the practice things that he, in trying to rest guys and all, I don't see the attention to detail when it needs to absolutely have to happen. That loss against the Eagles at Philadelphia, that was an attention to detail game, And then last week in Buffalo, you had a chance to, throw a flag, call a timeout, stop momentum, maybe get the game to go another direction. Attention to detail. There are things with this football team that there's things that need to be done on the sidelines that just aren't done. And he could talk about, we asked Zach Martin when he's on our show on Thursdays. We asked him about how they talk about the officials and they talk about the guy, they go into that. Maybe that's attention to detail. That's execution on the player's part right there. But I think that I don't think the attention to detail is where it needs to be with this head coach. And I think he could be really good at winning games, but to absolutely, for this particular team right now, I think that they lack a lot of those things that other teams have kind of thought about or have planned for and make work during a game.
Absolutely. 877-881-1053. More of your calls and texts. Plus, we got some player audio from the locker room. Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.
From retirement planning to insurance, SWBC has customized solutions to help individuals and businesses. Visit swbc.com to learn more.
They say champions are remembered, but legends are never forgotten. United Ag & Turf offers a winning lineup of John Deere equipment built to tackle any challenge on and off the field. Legendary John Deere tractors, combines, residential mowers, commercial mowers, compact construction equipment, Gator utility vehicles, and a full line of golf and sports turf equipment. United Ag & Turf, the official Ag & Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com to find a location near you.
Bell Nunnally has been committed to serving their clients for more than 4 decades. This Dallas-based full-service law firm offers an extensive array of legal services, including championship-level commercial litigation, mergers and acquisitions, real estate, intellectual property, and white-collar criminal defense practices. Whether it's the clients they serve, the cases they win, the people they hire, or the community they build, Bell Nunnally is behind every great company. Go to bellnunnally.com to learn more.
Buffalo Wild Wings will be hosting a weekly Football Feast live radio show with 105.3 The Fan's K&C Masterpiece on Fridays from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Stop into your local Dallas-Fort Worth B-Dubs for more details and a schedule of show locations. Buffalo Wild Wings is your football headquarters all season with wall-to-wall TVs, fresh wings, award-winning sauces, including
expires, and the Dolphins have finally beaten a team with a winning record. They hadn't either. And they win the game 22-20.
Cowboys lose 22-20. As Brad mentioned there, Jason Sanders 5 for 5. He gets your Miami Dolphins game ball, that's for sure. Cowboys, unfortunately, unable to close it out after what seemed like maybe a game-winning drive there right before the field goal. 17 plays, 69 yards in 7 minutes and 39 seconds. Then the Dolphins went down the field 12 plays, 64 yards in 3 minutes and 27 seconds to set up the chip shot 29-yarder there from Jason Sanders. Let's go ahead and get some tape from the locker room, brought to you by Blockchain. You don't need a complicated play to bring it into the end zone. That's why you should trust the team at Blockchain.com. to make buying, selling, and trading crypto easy. Play smarter, not harder with blockchain.com. We'll get back to your calls and texts here momentarily, 877-881-1053. But here's Micah Parsons following the 22-20 defeat.
Mike, how tough was that last drive?
It's super tough. I just feel like we're good enough to get a stop. It's tough.
3rd and 2, obviously they're going to try to attack what they think is a weakness. What's your thoughts on that 3rd and 2 just before the kneel downs?
Honestly, are you saying our weakness is the run?
Well, that's what they assume based on what happened last week against Buffalo.
I wouldn't say they attacked the weakness. I feel like majority of the game we shut down the run, had a lot of TFLs, had a lot of success. So I wouldn't say the weakness, but if you're talking about situational football and game football and IQ, why wouldn't you run it on 3rd and 2 and you're already in field goal position? So, I wouldn't say that's the weakness at all. I think we stopped the run pretty well and did what we were supposed to do.
How do you think you did against Tua overall?
I thought we did good. I don't think we really gave up anything big. They scored one time, a lot of field goals. They coming into the game, I think everybody knew they were going to get some big plays, some big opportunities with the weapons they have. And I thought we did a great job containing them.
You mentioned the good things you guys did in 5 field goals. That you hold the #1 offense in the league too. Just can you quantify the frustration of not coming out with the win after that kind of performance?
Same thing with the Eagles. Same thing now. It's a game of inches. Games are decided by 1 or 2 plays. That's the league win. It's hard to win. They won the turnover battle. So I think as a defense, we take accountability because we pride ourselves in getting the ball back, and we didn't do a good enough job at that.
Can you pinpoint the road issues? You have one on the road, but of late, there's been some struggles with Buffalo today.
We fighting with our back against the wall. A lot of penalties. It's mind-blowing, the things that's getting called and the positions we get put in. The thing is, we just got to learn how to fight the adversity. I know a lot of it's BS, and we're like, this is football plays, and but it's the world we live in. We got the star in the helmet.
You hit Tua in the back. What did the ref say to you on that call?
He said, anybody who's watching, I won so quick, how am I supposed to know he got the ball out? It's within a second. I didn't leave my feet. I didn't leave with my head, so I don't know what a roughing the passer is anymore. He said I could have done something in some manner to avoid him, but in reality, I ran into D-Law. We both met the quarterback. Like I said, it's just hard to play defense.
Is that play
Aren't you
more
supposed to have a
frustrating?
step anyway in those instances? Aren't you supposed to at least have one?
He said my intent was to punish the quarterback, but how am I trying to punish it if I'm just trying to sack him? It's not like it's a late hit. It's not like I'm leaving my feet. I didn't leave with my head. I don't know how you make that call. I don't see no justification. He said I just try to punish him, and I haven't got a roughing the passer all year. What do I have against Tua to even try to hurt Tua or anything? I'm just trying to get a sack. I'm one clean.
Is that kind of play more frustrating than the ones that aren't getting called, no holdings against you?
Yeah, I think that's frustrating in itself. It's like I can't get a call, but I get things called on me, So obviously they looking. They just don't care what they call, as long as it's just not with us. But then at the end of the day, we just got to win these type of games.
You guys have had a rebound from losses in the past. Now back-to-back, it's kind of stacked now. How do you kind of take this approach into Detroit next week? Another really good team.
Yeah, we just got to come and bring our best. We're back at home. We got a great opportunity to win at home and get back in the swing of things. But in reality, we just gotta get another win, and we just got to win. I hate losing. I hate this feeling. I know we're such a better team, and it's frustrating when it's not, when the results and what doesn't show.
In the playoffs around the corner, what would give you confidence in going on the road and picking up the win?
There's no one that can give me more confidence than the guys in this room. We just need guys to buy in, own in on what we want to do, can find the details, trust one another, because that's the only thing that matters is the guys in this room, this locker room. And without them, I can't go anywhere. We can't go anywhere. We just got to buy in, everybody.
How demoralizing was that final drive? You know, you guys needed to get him out the field and couldn't get him out the field. How tough was it?
You know, it's super demoralizing. I just feel like we're good enough to get a stop, and we didn't get a stop. I mean, we got gashed. I mean, we gave up plays.
Yeah, I mean, the defense certainly held their own for the majority of that football game, and it is disheartening and frustrating at the end there when they're not able to get the stop. They did give up chunk plays of 20, 21, 50, 19, 18, and 15. So there were big plays made by Miami, but overall, if you're going to hold that Dolphins juggernaut offense at 22 points and 5 field goals, you're going to say pretty solid day at the office.
Yeah, the one thing when you watch Miami's tape is you see a lot of big plays. And really, both offenses make a lot of big plays, and so that was going to be that was going to be what you needed to do. Yeah, Dallas gave up some big plays, but it didn't kill them.
No, they stiffened up. I mean, it was bend but don't break defense.
Yeah, if you want to call it the bend but don't break. But when they had to cover, when they had to get, unfortunately, the last drive of the game, they started in a terrible position. 3 minutes left in the game, and they get 21 yards on the first play. They have a pass that goes for 6 yards, and then they add a 15-yard face masking penalty. And so now the ball, that 21 yards, that puts them damn near midfield. So now it was okay, and then you couldn't get a stop on a running. I mean, the first down run, they get 8 yards, and now you're having to use your timeouts. And if you'd have created a negative play on, and what's really kind of disheartening is, like I say, Mostert and Waddle were not a factor at all in that second half. Now, Hill's a hell of a player. We all know that. But, they didn't have some of their best weapons, and you really couldn't take advantage of that.
Let's pause 10 seconds for station ID across the Dallas Cowboys radio network.
Your turn it on, leave it on. Home of America's team is 105.3 The Fan.
Hello, baby.
KRLD FM and HD1, Dallas Fort Worth.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
Yeah, it's interesting. The 4-6-9, the defense let us down tonight, bro. I mean, this same person doesn't care about the 2.5 quarters of inept offense. They just care about that last drive on defense, which is okay. I mean, they did. They let you down on that last drive. You're not even in the football game with a chance to win it unless your defense was able to hold up for the previous every single series essentially they played. And then the 6-8-2, stop with the defense. They're holding these teams to 20 or under for the most part. Offense makes a lot of mistakes. So it's just interesting the difference of opinion there amongst fans.
I'm just circling back because I was looking up something on the officials. I'm not trying to make, I'm just saying, how many offensive holding penalties do you think, and I'm talking about holding penalties where offensive linemen are involved.
Okay.
How many penalties do you think the Cowboys pass rush has drawn from offensive linemen this year?
Oh, over the entirety of the season?
The entire season.
Ooh. 13.
16.
16?
Yeah.
I mean, and I was going low at 13. 16 still to me is low.
See, Giants 4, Jets 2, Arizona 3. Now comes the fun part. New England 1, San Francisco 1, Chargers 3.
Okay.
Rams 1, Philly none, Giants none, Carolina none, Washington 1. Here we go. Seattle 0, Philadelphia 0, Buffalo 0, Miami 0.
Wow.
This is one of the best pressure teams in the National Football League. That's
to not have a single holding call
they haven't had
that
one
entire stretch.
They haven't had one in 4 weeks.
Yeah, that's a problem.
I mean, that's just I don't know. They lost the game. I'm just saying though. I think Micah Parsons has a right.
He does.
Frustrated,
and you can
tell.
I
think Tank has a right to be frustrated.
Absolutely.
And Dorrance Armstrong has a right to be frustrated. And Sam Williams has a right to be frustrated. I mean, Micah is not going to say. I mean, but 16 for the whole year from offensive line opponents, and none in the last 4 weeks. That seems a little wild to me.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, I will say this in regards to Micah's roughing the passer, and I get his frustration.
I thought it was roughing the passer.
In Pro Football Talk tweeted this out, and it was interesting.
You can't hit the guy like that in the back.
The rule specifically says
2 steps.
When in doubt, throw the flag.
Yeah.
Now, that's something that's never pointed out when we have our rules analysts that are talking about, today, that's exactly what Dean Blandino was saying.
Yeah.
2 steps. He didn't like the call. He thought it was in, a little subjective. But when in doubt, throw the flag, right? To me, that's just saying you could be in doubt basically any time. You don't want your quarterbacks getting hurt.
No.
So just say you can't hit the quarterback.
Well, see, that's the thing about when the ball's gone, and Micah's got a point. How do I know when the ball's gone? I'm just,
no idea. And he did win so fast off the line.
Fast. No, he's absolutely
right.
right.
And to his back's to him.
See, and we talked about this in the pregame, that this crew, their third most called penalties for the season has been roughing the passer. They came into this game, I believe, with 12, and now they've walked out of this game with 14. Your quarterback endured a roughing the passer, and their quarterback had one. So yeah, I mean, it's like I said. Hey, when you take a run at these quarterbacks, especially with Sean Hockley as the official, he's likely going to call a penalty on that.
Absolutely. 877-881-1053, the number to call, the number to text. Promise we get back into the phones. We certainly will do so. Your calls, your texts, and more player audio. You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
I'm Dak Prescott, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys.
And they snap it to Prescott, who looks right. It's not there. Snap is back, third down. Throwing it left side of the end zone for Cooks. Leaping up. Cooks. Did he catch it? Yes! Touchdown, Cowboys! What a throw and catch from Prescott to Cooks with 3:27 left in the game.
That is our drive of the game, brought to you by Ford, your Texas Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas. We're hoping it would have been the game-winning drive. Unfortunately, it was not, as the Dolphins would then go down and kick the game-winning field goal. 17 plays, 69 yards in 7 minutes and 39 seconds. You had 4th and goal at the Miami 4. You had a penalty on Deshaun Elliott for defensive pass interference that was able to extend the Cowboys' drive there. Then you ended up having 3rd and goal at the 8, and Dak was able to hit Brandin Cooks in the corner of the end zone for the touchdown. Unfortunately, not enough, as the Dolphins were able to go down the field and kick the game-winning field goal 22-20. They get the win. Zach Wolchuk alongside Bryan Broaddus, the Super Bowl winning scout, here on the official postgame show of your Dallas Cowboys. Let's get back out to the phones. Appreciate all your patience here on this Christmas Eve. 877-881-1053. Let's go to AJ in line 6. AJ in San Diego. Merry Christmas, sir. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing all right, guys. Merry Christmas to you and Mr. Broaddus over there. Just wanted to talk about the offensive line. It seems like every time Tyron Smith's not in the game, McCarthy goes conservative. And I know they came out smoking. I mean, they came out that first drive and they were going. Once Lipke had that fumble, it seemed like they did not want to run the ball again. It seemed like their offense got stagnant. No motion at the snap, nobody moving in motion. Is this just something that's going to continue with McCarthy? It's 2 weeks in a row that I feel like coaching has been the undoing. I'm not going to blame the refs. I'm not going to blame anything that's extraneous, but it seems like McCarthy is just not doing a good job and abandoning the run way too quick, in my opinion. Love to hear what you guys have to say.
Yeah, I won't be able to comment about the motion stuff and all that. I mean, you'll sit down. I'm sure that I'll get my next gen stats and they'll talk about pre-snap motion, and we get the tape in the morning and take a peek at that. But I don't know. I mean, I'm interested to see what adjustments, if any, did Miami make after the second series, after the Lamb touchdown. Did they in fact try and bracket him? It didn't appear to me that they were walking Ramsey or traveling Ramsey with him.
No.
I felt like that, the question is, what was Prescott seeing?
Yes.
When he took some sacks, or there were sacks, not him taking sacks, but what were some of the things? What were guys open? Did Fangio throw something at him? We talked about going into the game. They play that cloud cover where they drop a corner back and play a corner up, and then you kind of have a cover 2 look, but it's really to prevent you from throwing the ball down the field. And Dallas seemed like they were attacking the middle of the field. They just didn't. I don't think they went back to that. So can't comment about the pre-snap motion stuff till I actually see it, because I couldn't tell on the TV. But I don't know about going conservative, because I feel like though that maybe they had the idea of trying to get the ball to Lamb, but it didn't work out that way.
And
Dak might be throwing the ball his direction,
right,
but then pulling the ball down.
Yeah, the people that just hate Dak will be like, okay, your quarterback is just not throwing the football to CeeDee Lamb. And then, I know our guy Palmer, who calls in, who I know does not like Dak. He's, wants to bring up the point, do you believe McCarthy specifically called plays designed not to go to 88? I don't think he's specifically calling plays not to go to him, but did we necessarily see crossing patterns like you did in the first quarter that clearly CeeDee is the design number 1 read?
Yeah.
Not necessarily. Right? I mean, you're throwing screens to Michael Gallup. Yeah. So, I mean, there's ways as a play caller that you can design to get the ball in your best player's hands, no matter what the circumstance is.
Right.
So some of that, I think, the blame would fall on both. Dak, as a quarterback, you're the one controlling who the ball is going to on the football field. If you want to force feed CeeDee Lamb, you definitely can. But there's certain ways as a play caller you can schematically design to get the play to those players as well.
Yeah, I could say we saw last week against Buffalo what drop 7 will do.
And that could have spooked Dak. I mean, I think you saw it on the one play he did try to throw to Lamb, and I think that was towards the end of the third quarter, maybe fourth quarter, where he shorted it.
Yeah.
Because there were 2 Dolphin defenders underneath.
Yeah.
And that's one where he's thinking, man, I don't want to try and force it over the top and risk an interception. So essentially just threw it into the dirt short of CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah.
877-881-1053. Let's go to David in L.A. David, you're on the official postgame show of the Dallas Cowboys.
Merry Christmas, guys. I got a bone to pick with you, Brian. This is not Mike McCarthy's problem. Mike McCarthy is an excellent organized coach. This is a personnel problem. They've got an offensive line that cannot run block to save their life, and they have a defense that plays a certain way, but they don't have an NFL linebacker on the team. Until they get a real GM, they're not going to win anything. I mean, today everybody's talking, well, the defense played good. You know, the Dolphins punted twice. They had almost 300 yards throwing the ball, almost 100 yards rushing the ball. I mean, I know it's a good team, but other teams have shut them down this year. And you keep blaming McCarthy for this stuff. McCarthy's not the one who's trying to get out there and run block. McCarthy's a very organized guy. He's had success everywhere.
Is his responsibility to try and put the players in best position to have success?
Yeah,
it is. Do you feel like in this game that he did his best to put players in the best position to have success?
I think he did. I think that he did. I think that you guys were just talking about it.
In what way? In what way?
There are a lot of times when Dak pulled the ball down. I mean, he's risk averse, which is, I guess, it's fine, better than last year.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Okay, McCarthy has told him to be risk averse because he doesn't throw interceptions. He's helped him that way. But do you really do feel like that Mike McCarthy had called the best game he could call today, and with the situation how that game started?
Well, here's the deal. I mean, if you can't run the ball, and they're gonna
that's not the question. That's not the question. I mean, they didn't blanket it. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I don't. Coaches, the really good ones. Miami didn't run the ball all that well. I didn't think they ran the ball.
They didn't run the ball for over 100 yards as a team.
They found the way to get the ball into their playmakers' hands. Dallas started off that way, getting the ball into the playmakers' hands. Then something changed. And you got to, as they're changing, you got to change. So attention to detail, yeah. Mike McCarthy. I give Mike McCarthy a lot of credit. I think today he didn't help his team when at that point in time of the game where they needed him the most. Those 2 quarters.
Yeah. Look, Mike McCarthy has this team in the postseason for 3 straight years, which they hadn't done since 94 to 96. There's a lot of people that weren't even alive. So I think he's done a good job as a head coach. But today, certainly you can critique the play calling a little bit. And I thought it was interesting what Brad said. Mike wouldn't agree with this, but maybe Vic Fangio's in his head a little bit.
Yeah. If we watch the tape and Vic Fangio is doing all of a sudden, that's the whole thing. Mike had the best of Vic Fangio, and then what did Vic Fangio do? If he got into Mike's head or he made adjustments. Isn't it Mike's responsibility to try and okay, this is what he's doing to me, and I gotta adjust this way? You can't let them shut down your best player like that. Especially when the success that he had to start the game. That to me, that's an issue.
It is an issue. All right, let's go to Cody in Kentucky. Cody, you're on with Zach Wolchuk and Bryan Broaddus.
Hey, Merry Christmas, guys. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
Really, I wanted to say I agree with Brian that I think we lost this game on special teams tonight. That punt pinning us down there at the goal line and not really being able to do anything from it, that hurt real bad. But also that fumble at the beginning of the game, man. I mean, that game was so close to being 14-3, and we all know how this team plays with a lead. But I really have a question for Brian. Is the penalty problem 100% on the coach, or is it time to hold these players accountable? Because it seems, this group of guys, most of these guys have been here the whole McCarthy-Quinn era.
Yeah.
And I like to think he's got better things to do than tell them how to line up offsides or illegal shifts and all this stuff. Yeah. Sometimes you got to start thinking, are these guys just undisciplined? That's really all I had, but I appreciate you guys for taking my call.
Yeah, thank you. And and there's some elements to your question that's absolutely right about holding the players accountable. Mike's part of this. The front office is part of this. They're the ones that select these players. If you go out there and you have undisciplined players, then, that's on the coaching staff. That's on the scouting staff. For them to, that's something you have to absolutely think about because, Zach Martin even told us they work on the penalty aspect of things. They talk about these officials. But when you continually have calls that go against you because at awful times, that's on the players, that's on the coaches, and that's on the scouts because those are the players you've selected. And Mike's, he's trying to coach them up.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. I think you do need to hold the players accountable. But it's also, and maybe, Mike McCarthy is doing that behind closed doors. That's the coach's job. But instead
he's helping select the players, though, too.
He is. But here's what would annoy me.
Yeah.
Damone Clark gets the face mask penalty, right? McCarthy is yelling and complaining at the officials. He's not yelling and complaining at Damone Clark, right? That's when the head coach on the field can get to the player and say, you can't be doing that kind of thing, man. The same thing with the illegal shift. He's having a chat with Jake Ferguson, but the majority of it, body language-wise, he's rolling his eyes and he's chewing out the official. The official made the right call, technically. You can't. CeeDee Lamb lined up offsides, checks with the side judge. Side judge says, hey, move back. He moves back. Then Ferguson starts going in motion. It's unfortunate that happened, but it was the right call.
Who do you think the most penalized Cowboy player is?
Ooh, I think it might be Tyler Smith.
It's Tyler Smith. You're absolutely right. Do we all hate Tyler Smith?
No.
I mean, do we? I mean, I'm just.
But granted, you mentioned the selecting of players. We knew Tyler Smith.
Tyler Smith was
the most penalized player.
That's
in college
exactly right.
When they took
That's
him.
exactly right. Yeah. But see, that's what I'm saying. You kind of go in knowing that there's a potential for that. I think we all love Tyler Smith.
Yeah.
But he is the most penalized Dallas Cowboy. He's got 10 calls this year.
Great point.
9 of them holdings.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. 877-881-1053. All right, let's go to Yvonne in OKC. What's going on? Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays to you guys.
Thank you.
First of all, I've listened to this show forever. I'm a Cowboys fan. I've been around for every Super Bowl. I'm really upset with this radio station. Every show is negative. Whether we win, lose, or draw, it's negative. I saw just what you guys saw. The offensive line on the left-hand side was horrible. Terrence Steele didn't play well. Mike McCarthy got out-schemed, got out-coached for the second, and third quarter. But we saw exactly what you guys saw. But this station, to represent the Dallas Cowboys as the Dallas Cowboy radio station, you guys are too negative.
Ma'am,
I tune you out
what do you want us to do? What do you want us to do? You want us to just homer this thing up the whole time?
Brian, I'm not asking you to homer anything. What I'm saying as a person listening, you're negative.
Well, then
I'm
sorry.
Yeah, Dak gets no love from this station, whether he wins or he doesn't.
I disagree. You don't listen all the time. Then you do not listen all the time.
I do listen all the time.
You do not because
I work from home 11 hours a day, so it's on 105.3. Yes, sir.
Ma'am, the thing about it is, I think the station has been fair when it comes to criticism of this football team. Well, then I don't agree with you either, ma'am. I really don't.
That's fine. I'm not here to argue with.
I'm not. No, I'm just.
That's what I'm doing.
No. You came towards us and you say that we're negative all the time. I don't think there's listeners to this station that like if you sit there and homer it up all the time, it's like, well, wait a minute, what are you doing here? Why are you doing in that? I think we've been fair with this. I really do. Well, I think that we've been fair overall with how this team, when this team finds ways to win, when this team finds ways to lose.
Yeah, Ivana, I appreciate the call. I mean, I will say I was definitely campaigning for Dak to be the MVP when he was going on a 5-week run. I've gotten in arguments with other people at our station. I've been called a homer before. I mean, there's definitely people, and you probably aren't alone in thinking that, but you're kind of damned if you do and damned if you don't sometimes when you're in this profession, because there's times where I think after wins, especially when Dak's played well, I know for a fact I've definitely given Dak his praise on our postgame show. I think we have given Dak his credit. We just talked about the tight window throws and the play that he made earlier where he's about to get sacked. He's in the grasp, and somehow I don't know how he got the ball off. But when this organization, the standard is championships, is it not? You're going almost 30 years without sniffing a Super Bowl. I'm not going to blow smoke up your ass.
I agree.
And tell you that it's okay.
Yeah,
because it's not.
I totally agree.
It's not. And Yvonne, honestly, The reason why it is okay is because you want us to kiss their asses when they're losing. Yeah. And you keep buying tickets and you keep buying merchandise and money's still being printed. So it's okay. And until that changes, which it never will, you're not going to see the results that you want to see. So I'm sorry if we're being negative, but it's not acceptable for the Dallas Cowboys, to go almost 30 years without an NFC championship berth, and that's what you're looking at.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
You shouldn't be mad at us. You should be mad at that football team. That's who you should be mad at.
Yeah, it's tough.
But, that doesn't allow you to do that, I guess.
But, I'm sorry. And if you think we're being negative, I apologize. But I'm not going to be positive today because the team lost. No. And it was a tough loss. There's no doubt about it. But Merry Christmas.
Game they should have won.
This is therapeutic. Yeah. Keep calling. Let us know. 877-881-1053. We'll keep your calls and texts rolling. We're with you for another hour. Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.
Go behind the scenes at the home of the Dallas Cowboys with AT&T Stadium Tours presented by SeatGeek. See what makes AT&T Stadium a unique, world-class facility by taking a VIP guided tour. Check out the owner's experience.
Tua looking around standing. Here's pressure, and they finally got him. Back at the 18-yard line.
There you go. That's our defensive stop of the game. Cowboys defense able to step up and make a big stand there. Unfortunately, they weren't able to do it in the last drive of the game, but they did it there to give you a chance to go on that final offensive drive. Defensive stop of the game brought to you by Reliant and NRG Company. And Cowboy fans, you can stop by Whataburger. They're rewarding you for helping out local communities. You can stop by your hometown Whataburger to donate $1 to the Salvation Army and receive a Whataburger with the purchase of a medium fry and 32-ounce drink here on Christmas Eve. Merry Christmas, everybody. Official postgame show, your Dallas Cowboys rolls on. Not the result we wanted.
Nope.
But, Cowboys still in the playoffs at 10-5. Maybe that's good enough for some people if they're still in the postseason, and we'll see what happens there. Hey, you got to be in it to be able to do anything. 903, y'all are realistic and honest. Love you guys. Glad you have on the postgame and my radio daily. Wolchuk, you are a homer. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. I'm with you, Wolchuk. A lot of people texting in and venting. Well, it's emotional. It's not fun to lose, and it's definitely not fun to lose twice in a row, and especially in the fashion in which you did. But that's why we're here for you, 877-881-1053. Trying to allow everybody to vent, get your emotions out. But, yeah, I'm not, I'm always just going to be me, speak how I feel. Been a Cowboys fan since the day I was born, and honestly have not seen a considerable amount of winning. And that's not acceptable.
No, that's the tough part about it, and like I say, all we've ever tried to do is be fair. And so that's, I felt like that when, the offense was rolling along, with Mike McCarthy, I thought, him, Dak, what they were able to do, with the play calling, the route combinations, so much better today with the route combination. They got in a little bit of a bind, and we'll see. We'll do the autopsy on it. And was there something that Vic Fangio did to Dak and to Mike McCarthy that caused them to kind of go away from CeeDee Lamb? I don't think that Miami was not committed to traveling Ramsey. And if they're not committed to traveling Ramsey, then you needed to find a way to take advantage of that. And that's what I think I'm looking forward to seeing if they did go away from that.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate all the feedback. Whether you agree, you disagree, we're all in it together. Let's get back to the phones. We've got Khalil in Memphis. Khalil, how you doing? Merry Christmas.
How you guys doing?
Good.
All right. We love you, Brian. I listen to you all the time. I just want to know your quick analysis on Curse. Is he hurt?
Yeah, he's not playing well.
Quite impact. Yeah. And I think we might need to experiment with Martavis Bryant, because I really don't see anything from Michael Gallup. And I am from Memphis. I love Tony Pollard, but I think we got to find a bigger, stronger back. And I'm going to let you guys go. Go Cowboys.
Thank you, man. Yeah, I don't know if they'll bring Bryant on for anything. I mean, well, I've talked to some folks about him over there. He's working hard every day, but I don't see them. I think they're happy with Tolbert. I think they're happy with Gallup, but that's them. I don't think we'll see if I think Brian would only get activated if there was an injury. But the safety play a couple of weeks ago, it's actually really, really good. The Philadelphia game, the safety play was really good.
Yes.
And Hooker today with some nice play. Wilson was all over the field.
Wilson was real physical today.
But you're asking about Curse, and I think Curse is dealing with a lot of things. He's dealing with the back. He's been dealing with the knee. There's a lot of things that he's just not playing as well as he's played in the past. But Hooker, who I've been very, very critical of, I thought I was glad to see him back in the lineup for them because I felt like they were going to need him. He and Wilson both, I felt like we're okay today for you.
Let's go to Jimmy in Arkansas. Jimmy, what are your thoughts after this one?
My thought is that I think that McCarthy somebody needs to help him on the play calling.
Sure.
But what I'm thinking, what my comment, so I want from them, I want them to ask them was, if McCarthy keep on being inconsistent on calling plays, if the Cowboys don't make the playoff, would he be fired?
Well, they're going to make the playoffs, so it's just a matter if you go to an NFC South team depending on, like I said, I don't think you're going to win the division now. So if you go to an NFC South team, say Tampa, and you get beat, I think that, I think there has to be some evaluation there. But maybe Jerry feels differently. Maybe Steven feels differently than that. But, Mike has put him in the playoffs 3 straight years, and I think there will be some consideration for that. But depending on what they thought this team was going to be and how this team ends up the season, that's all for debate at the end.
Yeah, I think it's
if in fact they go to, say, Tampa and you lose to a Baker Mayfield and that crew.
Yeah, 100%, right? Like, I think we got to let this play out because as I've said before, do you feel confident right now in this team going and winning a road game against a quality opponent? Based off what we've seen, probably not. Are they capable of doing it? Hell yes, they are.
Yeah, they are.
Hell yes, they are. But
offensively, I worry about them. I don't think offensively they've gone on the road and shown me anything, and that's bothered me.
But I don't. Yeah, but I don't think that right now Mike McCarthy's in any jeopardy. But depending on how the season ends, if it's one and done and you lose on the road to Tampa Bay or whomever comes out of the NFC South, right now looks like it's the Bucs, and they're playing good football right now. That'll be cause for reevaluation. Or if you beat that team, you go on the road, you get spanked again by San Francisco or Philly. I think it's all a very fluid situation with who and how you lose.
I think you're absolutely right about that. I think if you do get bounced, then they need to look at why. Why were there so many problems on the road? And maybe they don't have a great answer for that right now, because if they did, they probably would have corrected it by now.
Yeah. And, the Martavis Bryant stuff, I feel like fans know who he is, and he had a good career in the NFL, but the guy hasn't been in the league for 5 years.
Oh, he's been working. He's been working hard. Yeah, no,
but he exactly. But I don't think they're going to put him out there until they feel he's ready to go.
They're not going to sit. They're not going to sit.
He might be a play for next year.
Yeah. The problem too is if you sit Tolbert, or if you sit Gallup, which I don't think they would do. Gallup really doesn't play special teams, so that
I don't know that Bryant does either.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I agree.
If
you keep Gallup active, then all of a sudden you're taking Tolbert off the field, and Tolbert plays special teams.
Right.
They're not going to do that.
Yeah, and that's certainly another layer of what you have to think about. That's why Deuce Vaughn has been inactive.
Deuce Vaughn doesn't play because
Deuce can't play special teams.
Can't play special teams.
All right, let's go to Jason in New York. Jason, Merry Christmas. How are you feeling after this one?
Disgusted. Merry Christmas to you and all you guys' families. Tough loss today because we should have won the game. Thinking about, just like you just brought up Gallup, what's his contract status?
I think they have an out on Michael Gallup's contract coming up.
There's going to be some dead money there. It's going to be like, I think, $8 million though if it's dead. So you're getting you're going to eat that.
I would have ate it already. I would have took him and a draft pick, and you should have got Henry. Henry puts that ball in the end zone, not your fullback to fumble the ball. And this is all on Jerry Jones because he likes his guys. Too many delusional Cowboy fans, especially in Texas. This is why you were speaking to that lady.
Yeah.
Another one. They hate when you talk bad against them, or they always want to be praised. No, you got to hit them when they're wrong. And another thing with this defense, too light in the ass. They're all like 185 pounds. No, there's no physicality. Like Bell, what is he? 195 pounds.
Yeah.
Always out of position. Malik Hooker. He was horrible against the Jets. Bad angles. He gave up a 75-yard pass to Wilson. I mean, it's just bad play. Bad play. The play before that guy fumbled the ball, he went out of that game. He was banged up. And then Pollard got knocked down by a pinky. Couldn't get in the end zone because, he weighs like 110 pounds. And then that fullback comes back in the game. Why couldn't Prescott just move it into the end zone himself? I mean, Jalen Hurts has like 20 touchdowns, 19 touch pushers.
Yeah.
I mean, for 1 yard. I mean, why can't I don't understand? Dak Prescott's strong. He can get into the end zone. It would make no sense.
Yeah.
It's just bad. That's bad play calling. That's unacceptable. And that cost them the game between the second and third quarter adjustments because CeeDee Lamb was going up and down the field.
Sure
was. Yeah, absolutely.
I think you made a lot of good points there, Jason. It's interesting because the Cowboys have tried, I think, twice to do the tush-push deal. One time it did work. The second time it did not. And Dak, after the game, was joking and saying they didn't push my tush hard enough. But we've seen Dak work with some of the quarterback sneaks. I think the play was going – I think Lipke was getting in the end zone on that play. Unfortunately, fumbled the football. I think that was on Hunter Lipke. right? I know they credited that with Dak Prescott. I think Dak handed it to him, went right through Lipke's arms.
Yeah, I think that, again, not blaming Dak. I'm just telling you what the official score
said. Absolutely. And I think that's kind of what usually the fallback there is to give it on the quarterback, because Lipke never technically had control of the football.
Right.
So I don't think you could give that to him, but it was a muffed exchange there. And it's a shame, because I think Lipke had earned himself more playing time, and you could definitely see that during the week he was part of this offensive game plan.
He was part of the game plan. They brought him in for some pass protection stuff too. That he had the one time where he had the one miss. Last week was one of his best games when it came to getting after linebackers and digging them out.
Let's go to AJ in Nebraska. AJ, you're on with Zach Wolchuk and Bryan Broaddus. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, this is AJ. Thank y'all for taking my call. My problem is Dak. Dak is another Danny White. He's another Craig Morton. He can't play in the big games. You can see he has deer in headlights whenever we go on the road playing a good team. We cannot win with this quarterback. He has no confidence. He's not a general. He's a subpar quarterback. He's not a quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. I've been watching the Cowboys since 1970. This guy has no dog in him. We need to get another quarterback. Please don't spend another $200 million on this guy for another 4 or 5 years. I'm ready for the backup quarterback, because I have no confidence in this guy.
What was it, that final drive that maybe could have won the game? How would you evaluate that for him?
Well, the penalties help us get down the drive. The penalties help us get down there.
Well,
the pass that was called for a penalty, that ball was a badly thrown pass.
The pass that Tolbert caught? Is that what you're saying?
No. The one when the ball to win in the end zone, they called a penalty on Miami.
Well, but they held both guys. They got the. I mean, it wasn't a gift penalty. I mean, they had 2 penalties. You could see it on clear as day. They held both guys. I'm just asking overall. So you're saying you're going to give him no credit for that drive, then, right?
No, what I'm saying is we play in Miami. Miami doesn't have a great defense. They don't have a great defense. And this guy is, how he's going to play against San Francisco if we have to meet San Francisco. If we meet Tampa Bay, their quarterback is not much, but Dak cannot play against good defense. When there's a good defense, a good quarterback, this guy is a deer in headlights. He's like Danny White and Craig Morton. He can't play in a big game. We need another quarterback. We're talking about the Dallas Cowboys. We're not talking about Tampa Bay or these other teams. I'm talking about the Cowboys. This guy is not up to the standards.
Thank you, AJ. You very well could be right. I mean, I questioned it after the San Francisco playoff loss last year. Is Dak good enough to carry you to where you want to go? And look, that might bear out, but I do just want to let you know, Dak Prescott's not going anywhere. They are going to give him that extension. They are going to pay him. He is going to be your quarterback for the foreseeable future. So, maybe we do continue to go on this carousel, but you're not going to stop watching unless maybe you do. I don't think you will, but Dak's not going anywhere. And today, at least, he did not the offense was not good enough for 2.5 quarters. And he is certainly to blame for that, where others might not want to say that.
Sure.
But he certainly is. You can shared blame all around, but the quarterback's ultimately pulling the trigger. But he did go down and gave you what could have been the game-winning drive. And that throw to Brandin Cooks was a good throw.
That's why I wondered I just wondered what he saw in that final drive. If he felt like that, that was a quarterback that you can't win with. I don't get the feeling that's the case. Last week against Buffalo, I felt like that he got rattled a little bit. Didn't see exactly what he needed to see. Didn't react as well as he needed to. But man, that final drive that they had to, they needed that drive.
Yeah,
he's pretty clutch on that.
And he did. He delivered for you there.
Sure did.
And then now, did he deliver the previous 2.5 quarters? No, but he did deliver when you needed him to. And then unfortunately, defensively, you were able to get the last stop that you needed. All right, 877-881-1053. See, several of you are still waiting and being patient. I appreciate it. We'll get to you. We'll also hear from Brandin Cooks, maybe Demarcus Lawrence as well. You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
Every moment, every touchdown, every yard is a reason to celebrate. If anyone knows that.
007.
Jalen Tolbert in the game, split wide to the right. Lamb in motion, right and back left. Snap to Prescott, second down. Standing, looking. There's a deep shot. Going for Tolbert down the right side. He took it away from the defender at the 23. He just took that ball away from Xavier Howard at the 23-yard line.
Tremendous play from Jalen Tolbert, 45 yards, a play in which looked like he was wide open for a touchdown. Ball was a little underthrown, Dak under pressure, and Jalen Tolbert works back to the football and literally, as Brad Sham said, ripped it away from Xavier Howard, and that was during a stretch in which the Cowboys had just gotten down 16-7. They had gone punt, end of half, punt. Finally, they needed that spark for 45, put them in field goal range. They did kick a field goal to make it 16-10. That is our What a Play of the Game, brought to you by WinStar as the casino of the Dallas Cowboys. WinStar knows what it means to be a star with over 10,000 of your favorite electronic games. The only two-story WinStar spa and Cascades that are a luxury pool complex. WinStar really is the place to feel like a star. Please game responsibly. They needed it there, and they certainly got it when they needed it most. All right, let's. I got some quotes here from CeeDee Lamb post-game in the locker room, which is interesting. The official post-game show.
That's an interesting one he has, yeah.
Yeah, Zach Wolchuk alongside Bryan Broaddus, the Super Bowl winning scout here. Now, CeeDee, this narrative, quote, this narrative around us winning away is strange but true. Unfortunately, we know what we got to do. We got to continue to be great, continue to be who we are, and change that narrative. CeeDee went on to talk about the offensive slump in quarters 2 and 3. CeeDee, quote, they weren't doing anything. I feel like if I'm going to be involved, keep me involved. It was weird. That second and third quarter, very weird. Started off the game hot. I went absent. That's why it's weird. Quotes courtesy of Nick Harris, does an excellent job at DallasCowboys.com.
But Friday guest every week.
Yes, usually joins us on Fridays on the flagship 105.3 The Fan and the G-Bag Nation. Interesting comments there from CeeDee Lamb, and might answer a little bit of our question.
Yeah, and I kind of was wondering with him, he's absolutely right. Is this coaching malpractice here? Or are we going to watch the tape and sit down and go, oh, wait a minute, now he's, well, maybe they did this a little bit different or that a little bit different. But I just find it really hard to believe without, and the one guy that could have traveled, like, if CeeDee could have said, well, man, I got hot and all of a sudden they put Ramsey on me, and man, I can understand. Ramsey's a, damn good player and da-da-da-da-da. But it didn't sound like that was the case at all, And I just feel like that if we look at this and they just didn't go to him for whatever reason, then man, you got some real issues if that's the case, because Miami didn't have an answer for him, not at all, and so.
They really didn't.
They really didn't.
It was, it's just, it's weird that if a player is just going to shred the opposition like that all of a sudden you're just going to go away from it.
Non-existent, yeah.
Until they prove they can stop it, don't go away from it.
Right.
Keep just killing them.
That's what my hope is, that, like you say, you see these coaches, these play callers around the league, that when they find a weakness, when they find you not, like, look at Buffalo. Buffalo knew you could not stop running the football last week. What did they do? They just kept running the football. Joe Brady, that's what they did. You proved that you couldn't stop the run, so did they ever go away from the run? No. They just kept running the ball, and you didn't have an answer. And I don't know if they necessarily had an answer for CeeDee Lamb in this game.
Yeah. No, they didn't. They absolutely did not. All right, let's go back to the phones, but first let's pause 10 seconds to allow stations to identify themselves across the Dallas Cowboys radio network.
Your turn it on, leave it on. Home of America's team is 105.3 The Fan.
Hello, baby.
KRLD FM and HD1, Dallas Fort Worth.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
877-881-1053, the number to call, the number to text. We'll hear from Demarcus Lawrence here in just a moment. Let's go back out to the phones. A lot of you waiting patiently. I'll try and get to as many of you as we can. Let's go to James in Mansfield. James, you're on the official postgame show of the Dallas Cowboys.
How you doing? And Merry Christmas to you.
Thank you. You
Merry
too.
Christmas.
Well, the first thing I got to say is the last caller you had doesn't know his Cowboy history. The only reason why Danny White didn't win a Super Bowl because the defense at that time wasn't as good as it was under Staubach. But Danny White had a miracle comeback against the Falcons.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
As far as Craig Morton is concerned, he did play in the Super Bowl.
He did.
So I don't know what the heck he's talking about. But what I called about was the two things I was thinking about. Let's stop pissing and moaning about the Dallas Cowboys, what they didn't do today. They got a tough team to play next week.
Yeah, they do, James.
Yeah.
James, they absolutely do. And we've got a week to talk about the tough team that they play next week. But part of the postgame show is to break down exactly what happened in today's game, which is what we are doing. So I appreciate the call, James. But call with something better next time. Thank you. Jay and Anna. Jay, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, fellas?
Hey, Jay.
Hey, I'm a former Cowboys fan. I left when Jimmy left. And I want to say this, man. Lamb, that man was smoking Howard almost the entire game.
Yeah.
To the caller who said Dak ain't that guy, he's bugging, because when you watch the tape tomorrow, you'll see we played more zone this game to confuse them than we've ever played and minimize our blitzing. So that being said, Dak really played an amazing game, in that last pass almost had me scared. But I knew y'all would do what y'all do without Jimmy. But as far as the Dolphins are concerned, as an advocate of the Dolphins, we appreciate the playmanship you guys had with us. And I really appreciate you guys for taking my call.
Jay. Thanks, buddy.
And in the great words of Jimmy, how about them Cowboys?
How about them Cowboys? Merry Christmas, Jay. We appreciate it. Hopefully the Cowboys get the Dolphins next time we see you. All right, let's go to Maximilian. Maximilian in Fort Worth. What's going on?
Hey, guys. How y'all doing? Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
You too.
Man, so personally, I do think that Dak has it. I do think there's some questionable times. Like you said, he needs to react a little faster. I agree with that. To the lady that called, I don't think y'all are being negative, man. I think you're just being realistic and calling it like it is, number one. Number two, do you guys really believe that that's what we're lacking is just the right GM, which has always been a topic because it's Jerry's world? And then I guess the third thing is, man, when you're at the 1 yard line, why are you gonna call a drop back pass? Run the ball.
Oh, that's a great point. Yeah, that's a great point. We were screaming the same thing in here. I mean, we're just keep the clock running.
Yeah,
you're at the 1. That play ends up resulting in a sack at the 11. Now, granted, they did end up getting in the end zone, but I agree with you. I think that's a great point, Maximilian. As far as a lot of people want to talk about, yes, you need a new GM. It's difficult because this team has been very talented. They've definitely put quality teams together. But there is one common thread during the time of disappointment since the last Super Bowl. So, I mean, if we could pinpoint it, I feel like, and it's not our decision to make. I guess it is Jerry's decision to make.
How much GM do you think he's doing at 82 or 81 years old?
See, I don't think a ton. I mean, I think that he still probably has final say to everything, but I think a lot of it is we're relying on Will McClay, who does an excellent job drafting, and I think Steven's taken more of that role as well.
Mike McCarthy? Yeah, I think that the one thing, my experience of working for the Dallas Cowboys is that the head coach has a lot of latitude. Anything that they want the head coach, anything he wants, they try and get. They really rely on the head coach. And so this Mike, Will, Steven, is Jerry, 81, 82 years old? I mean, I don't know. I could probably look that up.
I'll find out for you.
But that's what I'm saying. How much GMing is he really doing? I think Jerry has the title of a general manager, but I think
81.
I think day-to-day operations as a general manager is that Steven and Will and Mike bring things to Jerry, and they kind of talk about, hey, Jerry, we need to do this for the cap, or we need to do this for player acquisition, or we need to do this for, Jerry probably asks questions about play calling and other things like that. Injuries, they keep him in the loop. But your GM, in my case, or my thought, is in title right now. I think Steven, Will, and Mike McCarthy are running your football team. That's who I think's running your team.
Yeah, I don't think Will has the title, but I think he is kind of
absolutely
more so the general manager than anybody else.
Stephen Jones leans on him more than anybody in that organization.
But it's hard to pinpoint. It really, really is hard to pinpoint what it is that has flawed this team. And again, who knows? I mean, maybe that part of being a fan is to keep the hope alive, right? And so, they're in the playoffs. They've got a chance. You never know. You never know what can happen. As I mentioned earlier, we just saw this year with the Texas Rangers, the baseball team that plays next door to the Cowboys. Nobody gave the Rangers a shot. But I get it as a fan. You get beat down by the same old story, and it does seem like we have seen this story before. We've read the book, and the ending's going to be the same. But maybe things will end up being different. But it's tough, and when you lose 2 in a row like this, it's hard to keep the optimism. So I understand the frustration there. All right, let's go to Matt in Dallas. Matt, how you doing?
How you doing, guys? Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
So y'all keep bringing up the drive where Dak took him down there and scored. But I can't give him credit for that because you don't get credit when you start the fire, when you put it out.
Sure.
Okay? He played horrible for 2.5 quarters, and I don't care about the play calling because I'm telling you, if it's Brent Favre, if it's Mahomes, he's going to make sure Tyreek gets the ball. He's going to make sure Sterling Sharp gets the ball. There was no reason for CeeDee to go from 5 catches, 100 yards to 1 catch, 12 yards.
You saying that's all in the quarterback? That's all in the
Yes.
That's all in the quarterback. Is it his?
Yes.
Is it decision making? Is that what you're saying? Is that the problem?
Yes, decision making. The play call can be whatever it is.
Yeah.
CeeDee, I'm coming to you.
Yeah.
You're my guy. I'm coming to you regardless of what's going on. And I'm not a Dak fan, but people calling and saying get rid of Dak are ludicrous. I'm not a Dak fan at all. I remember the years after Romo. I can name you Clint Sterner, Tony Banks, and everybody that came through here.
That was before
Dak
Romo.
Yeah, I'm saying I can remember before, after Aikman, we got lucky with Romo. How many quarterbacks we had to
No
go
question.
through to
No
get
question.
to Romo?
Okay, so
So
Matt,
getting rid of
let me
Dak-
ask you this, because I agree with you 100%, and I was in this exact same mindset you were, right? Because we went through 5-11, 5-11. Brian lived that. Brian was there through all of that. You couldn't find a quarterback. Romo gave you a chance. Dak's good enough where he's going to give you a chance every week, but is he the guy to get you over the top? That's the question still, and should we just hold on to hope for that when you don't see it when you're in year 8, year 9, or should you go ahead and just say, I can't live in fear of not having a quarterback. I need to go find that next guy that can get me there.
If he's not willing to take a certain pay so we can build a better team around him, because he's not the guy that's going to carry the team, he needs a team around him, then you move on.
Okay. All right. I appreciate the call, Matt. I think that some people are so dug in or they're just dug out on Dak that they just feel one way or another.
Sure.
Eventually, maybe he does get it done. I would love nothing more than to see that. We've seen great moments from Dak. The dude was playing at an MVP level for a good chunk of this season. Yeah. Last week was bad all the way around. Today, there were lulls in the offense where Dak was not good. Was he under pressure? 100%. Did he come up when you needed him to with a game-winning drive? He did. Unfortunately, the defense didn't do their part, which they had done the majority of the game, but they didn't when you needed it most. That's why football is the ultimate team sport.
Complimentary football, right?
Absolutely. All right, let's go to Stan in Burleson. Stan, appreciate your patience, man. Merry Christmas.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Solid.
Can you hear me? Okay, good. All right. So this is, and that interview with Micah Parsons, it kind of helped me make my point, too. And this obviously started with the head coach because Mike McCarthy doesn't want to blame the players for penalties. It's always the ref's fault. And now their best player, I think we can all agree, is Micah Parsons. He's whining that, well, the media wants us to lose. The media doesn't. Why are you worried about the media? Why you care about what's happening outside the locker room? Okay, worry about, well, who cares what Richard Sherman and LaShawn McCoy and Skip Bayless and Steve, who cares what they have to say? You shouldn't be worried about it. The 90s Cowboys were probably the most scrutinized team or one of them in the history of sports, right?
Yeah.
I mean, multiple books written about them and not what they did on the field. And they won 3 Super Bowls, 3 in 4 years, right? So, and then the refs, homie, you hit him so hard in the back that he fell on the ground. And the refs saw that he didn't have, they're going to call that. You know they're going to call that. And then he implied that, it's because the stars on my helmet. I mean, that's.
Are you against Micah Parsons?
You think the team's soft?
You think?
I think they're soft. Yes.
Okay.
Why are you worried about the refs? Why don't you go out and do your job and make it so that if the ref does call something, that it doesn't affect the game? And why are you worried about the media?
But
Who
that's your
cares
focus. Your focus is on Micah, so you're not liking what Micah's doing, right?
The mentality of the best player, that's going to rub off on the rest of the team, right? Your best player or your best players. So I just think if that's the mentality of your best player, that's going to rub off on the rest of the team. So now the rest of the team is worried about what the media thinks, and now they're whining about the rest too. Man, let's go out. I don't care about the media. You shouldn't either. You know, don't worry about what people outside the organization, outside of the locker room. Who cares what they think?
Does have a legitimate bitch, though. He gets held every single snap.
Yeah, he does. But I hear your point there, Stan. I mean, there is, and you hear Nate Newton talk about this. You hear other players talk about this, especially when it comes to going on the road. There's a mentality, there's an attitude, there's a toughness that you have to have. I don't know that Micah lacks that. And certainly, you know, when you're losing, it's going to frustrate fans that you're going and making these kind of comments on your platform, on your podcast. Yeah. But I don't think that Mike is a soft player.
Your head coach might not have the toughness. That's what I think that this thing is. I think Mike does a good job in a lot of areas. I don't know if he necessarily has the toughness that you need. You know, you need to come up with answers on why you're not playing well on the road. And you know, he's kind of scratching his head right now about that. But you look at the coaches around the league, the ones like the guys like the Dan Campbells and attitudes like that, McVay, tough coaches. Toughness with their teams. You see it with their teams. I don't know if this guy's necessarily a tough coach. And maybe that's what doesn't filter through his team.
877-881-1053. We will put a bow on this one. Look ahead to Detroit next week here on a Christmas Eve post-game show after a Dolphins 22-20 win over your Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.
Hi, Drew Pearson, former Dallas Cowboy and now Pro Football Hall of Famer here. If you're struggling with your vision,
First down and a 2nd and 6. Prescott a deep strike to Lamb over the middle. Makes a cut inside. Gets to the pylon. And it's a touchdown for CeeDee Lamb. 49 yards on a catch and run for the first touchdown of the game.
There is our player of the game. It is indeed CeeDee Lamb. Boy, CeeDee couldn't be stopped today, other than maybe his own team. 6 catches, 118 yards, averaged almost 20 yards a catch. Had that TD. Along of 49, had 10 targets.
TD to CD.
He was fantastic. Maybe we'll get that on TD Tuesday.
That's the first touchdown. I saw this on Next Gen Stats. That's the first touchdown he's ever had when he's run a slant.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, you figure that kind of like when he was at Oklahoma, that's all he did was run inside routes and run for 70-something yards.
That's
amazing. What a nice player he is.
It really was. And he is fantastic. Yeah. CeeDee Lamb, our player of the game, brought to you by Jack Black. Want to use what the pros use? Jack Black is the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit getjackblack.com today. Zach Wolchuk alongside the Super Bowl winning scout, Bryan Broaddus. Appreciate all the calls. Even if, it's an emotional time. If we agree, we disagree, I still love you. And, if you ever feel like your voice isn't being heard, I'm here. We're here for you, and we appreciate it. Thank you very much. All right, let's hear real quick from Demarcus Lawrence post-game after this loss, who D-Law was fantastic.
Your thoughts on this tough loss today, especially at the end?
Game of inches, man. We got to find a way to, come out with the win.
How difficult is it now? Because it looks as if you might have to go on the road for the postseason.
That don't mean nothing. Regardless if we road or home, we got to win, point blank period. And, we didn't come out with the win today. This ain't the last y'all going to see us. So, ain't nothing to hold our heads about. We went out there and we fought tough. We just ain't come on with the win.
If you could put a word on the feeling walking off the field today after this one, what would it be?
It's football, man. It's a game of inches. Definitely take pride in our work and what we display out there on the field, but, we can't control each and every scenario. We have to play against, the opposing team, the refs, and, a hostile environment. So, we got everything working against us, man. We just got to come together as a brotherhood and find a way to get a win.
How tough was that final drive, knowing you need to stop and y'all couldn't get it on defense?
It was very tough. Feel like my brothers definitely believe we was going to get the stop. We just ain't get it.
Not to say you weren't always into the game, but on that your guys' last offensive possession, I noticed that you weren't even sitting down. You were up on the sideline screaming the whole entire time. It just seemed like you were really into that whole moment when they came down there and scored. How important was it to try and get a win in this game, and just how disappointed are you that you guys weren't able to do it?
Yeah, man, it was very important. We definitely put the work in this week. Feel like our game plan was solid. But it's a game of inches, man. It comes down to 1 or 2 plays that we could have made on defense, and we just ain't handling our business tonight. But overall, I feel like we played tough, and we got something to look forward to.
There was a 3rd and 2 on that last drive. How difficult was it to? This was the ball game right here. You got to stop them.
Hey, man, I just urge y'all to go back and look at that last drive. I feel like it could have been called both ways, but obviously they only seen, the ticky-tacky stuff that we did. So, it's just, game of inches, bro. You got to learn from your mistakes, be able to anticipate in different situations and be able to, float to the ball, run, hit, and let the rest take care of itself.
Demarcus Lawrence after a 22-20 loss to the Dallas Cowboys. 877-881-1053. Good night, Merry Christmas. So depressing from the 254. I get it. I understand. I'm sorry. Let's go to what will probably be our last call of the evening. Let's go to Bo in Fort Worth. Bo, how you doing?
Doing well. How are you guys?
We're doing solid, man.
So I got another question about Micah Parsons here. I saw him line up at linebacker a few times tonight. What do you guys think that's all about? You think that's just Cowboys trying to give a different look, or you think we're so shorthanded at the linebacker position that he's got to slot in there?
Had 4 snaps, and when he played off-ball linebacker in those 4 snaps, the Dolphins were -2 on offense. So yeah, they were trying. They were just trying to find ways to move him around and put him in the best position to hopefully make a play or two.
Yeah. Thank you for the call there, Bo. Let's go to Brian in Dallas. Brian, what's going on?
Brian.
Thank you for taking my call, gentlemen.
Sure.
I wanted to quickly respond to the topic that you were on. Bryan Broaddus was talking about how the Dallas defense is not getting the pass holding calls.
Yeah.
Now, the aggressive Dallas defense, if you look at Micah Parsons, for an example, is taking them 1.9 seconds to get to the quarterback, which is extremely fast. It doesn't give the offense enough time to get their set, in which most often is where you get a holding call. So I would suggest that maybe the Dallas Cowboys defense is so good, they're getting to the quarterback quick, therefore you don't have a lot of offensive holding calls. That's my thought process. I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Man, I've seen too many clips. I like what you're saying, though, about the quickness, because they're one of the best in the league when it comes, well, I've seen too many clips, too many pictures, too many all 22s where Micah is, he's clearly held on the play. I mean, you see them arm around a guy's neck, they double team him, they hold him on that. So I think that I just think the officials are missing it. I really, really do. You can't tell me that you can have one of the best pass rushing teams in the league and only have 16 holding calls.
Yeah.
And
crazy.
4 of those came in week 1. You hadn't had a holding call in the last 4 games. Like 7 of the how many games we played now? 15?
Yeah.
7 of the 15 games you haven't even had a holding call.
It's unbelievable.
It's weird.
It really
is weird. And to your theory, it might be something to it, but I've seen too many clips and too many all 22s where they haven't been getting the call. And that's what Tank's talking about too.
Yeah.
Tank's talking about that hold on 3rd and 2. I think it was, I want to say that it was Clark. It was another one that Clark got held on that they ran that they didn't call. So,
all right, let's go to Victor. Victor, you'll close it down tonight. Victor in San Antonio, what's going on?
Howdy, long-time Cowboy fan since the Ice Bowl. I have 2 quick comments and 1 question. Why? I'm not a Dak hater, but it's just for being a professional quarterback, I think he's a little too inaccurate too many times. And my second comment is I didn't like it when the Cowboys picked up McCarthy because he was fired from Green Bay for a reason. And one of the main reasons is he was there 10 years with a Hall of Fame quarterback, and he only had 1 Super Bowl. I said, so why did we pick him up? And my last one is a question to you. Would you call our number 1 draft pick that was supposed to be the run stopper a bust?
Look, I mean, Victor, I appreciate it. I don't think you can call a pick a bust after not even a full year yet. No. I mean, has he made the type of impact that you would have hoped he would? No. Does it take him a little longer to come around? Does he show flashes, though? Yes, he does. But he also plays a position that's not going to show up on the stat sheet and wow you like, say, Jahmyr Gibbs is, which people probably would have complained if the Cowboys had drafted a running back in the first round anyway, or some of these receivers or, another position. But I just think it's too early to call any player a bust just 1 year into their career.
Yeah, I think there's some things that Mozzie Smith clearly needs to work on. I think him seeing the football, getting off on the football, I think those are things that kind of plague him. When he's bad, that is generally the reason he's bad. And that's again, watching all 22, watching him play. And trust me, I watch him every single snap he's in there because I know this is a big hot topic thing with a lot of fans.
Yeah. All right, very quickly, a rundown of the other scores that have gone on. You have currently New England leading Denver 23-7 as they play late in the third quarter.
Yeah, Denver just fumbled a kickoff. They had scored 14, or New England scored 14 points here. They just fumbled a kickoff return. It's crazy that Denver, if they lose this game, their playoff chances go to like 3%.
Yeah.
So they have better find something in this fourth quarter to kind of get this thing going the other way.
Tough deal there. Rapid fire Falcons over the Colts 29-10. Seattle 20-17. They rallied to beat the Titans Lions, who is the Cowboys' next opponent, beat the Vikings 30-24. Jets rallied to beat the Commanders 30-28. Packers over the Panthers 33-30. Browns smacked the Texans 36-22. Bucks beating the Jags 30-12. And then, of course, you had the Bears over the Cardinals 27-16. Those were your scores today. Big thank you, of course, to Bryan Broaddus. Peyton Russell, excellent job producing as well. We've got our guys Chris and Ross that did an excellent job. Gavin Spittle, Tim Collins. Merry Christmas to everybody. I know tonight didn't go the way that we wanted it to, but back at home next week where the Cowboys have won 15 in a row. Until then, hugs and hand pounds, everybody, and you're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
ProStar Energy Solutions wrote the playbook for innovative energy solutions with the opening of AT&T Stadium. This mindset is why we created a complete energy playbook, whether it's retrofitting LEDs, optimizing your HV